class here in the run group so far in that black 992 car. And here's one of these Supras. Looks like he maybe just overshot the braking zone there in turn 12, ran off the track a little.
You literally nailed it. It says Kyle McHugh. He is wrangling a bull right now. He brought all the power in the world, but he has to make it work with his street class rule set. So 900 horsepower, small aero car. It's very, very awesome to see him out here, but he's figuring it out. And you know what? He's leading the street class, if I'm not mistaken, so he has it figured out. Now, I did see Eric Fleming set a second lap at a 2:43, so it was a cooldown lap. Eric Fleming is known to send it, so maybe somewhere towards the back half we can find him, see if he's still pushing it. That would be awesome. This is going to be Kyle starting a flyer, though. Let's see if we can follow him through this lap.
Stand on the power, coming up out of turn 20, and just focus on everything you got coming up in front of you. And it all starts with turn 1. Just don't overshoot that brake marker, especially with all that horsepower underneath the hood of this thing. Deal with the bumps there on the brake zone. Don't cheat it inwards towards the apex. Looking really good. Textbook turn 1. Puts the power down coming out, maybe on the traction control a little bit, and I'm not sure if this is a flyer, if this is going to be another cool down lap for this Supra. Looks right in the middle of the racetrack here, so I think that this is going to be just kind of putting it on the racing line and refamiliarizing how the car is acting, but not quite going to be a flyer for this one.
You know what? And Eric Fleming just finished that flyer, a 2:03.853. You know, it's crazy. I watch him set timing and scoring, so I'm like, maybe we'll catch it at the end, and I look up to see Kyle's car, and this man has already finished a lap. It's the blink of an eye, and he's over here doing lap after lap.
Those fast cars, when they start lapping, they just quickly get going. It's almost like they build the momentum up, and you want to bring up some silly NASCAR terms, that vortex, the air vortex. The faster they go around the track, you know, it keeps the air vortex spinning above and keeps the weather nice and clean.
to keep the weather nice, yeah, absolutely. So you know what's crazy is we don't have very many unlimited class cars, and Eric Fleming has always been this guy, and I'm sure that was his philosophy when he told his guys, no matter how we build this car, I need to be able to do more than one lap. Because Eric has always been a send it, cool down, send it. He does it here. He does it at Atlanta. Every event that we've been blessed to have him at, he will just set flyer after flyer. Not 10 in a row. It's not an HPDE car, but he will always set 2 laps, and almost every time that second lap is faster than the first.
Everybody works differently in their brain processes and how they learn, how they apply their work. And as long as the driver has a process that he understands and that he likes, then A-okay, that's all right with me. Let's make sure that the car can perform doing what the driver wants to do, and evidently that's exactly what this Corvette does for Eric Fleming. And this is a cool down lap. I do see, I think, a few more laps left here in this run group, so if he wanted to go back out there for that next hot lap and really try to throw down another one, he is more than welcome to, as long as he's got plenty of fuel in the thing.
Well, let's get to something a little bit more serious here, right? Eric Fleming, obviously Cole Powelson in the 202s, leading the event, unlimited overall record. Eric Fleming is 2/1000ths off the unlimited rear-wheel drive record, which was Ferris Khartoumy's winning time last year in his twin-turbo, huge aero Corvette. So if you want to compare this to something, Eric Fleming is a hair away from owning the unlimited rear-wheel drive record. Now, obviously, Ferris is here. He hears me saying this. That's going to hype him up to want to go out there and go fast. But the amount of effort that Eric Fleming and his team has put in to be that guy, to accidentally be an unlimited class. For those wondering, he just wanted to build a cool car. He wired the whole car up for paddle shift, but paddle shift is not legal unlimited. It has to be rod shifted if you have a sequential. And instead of going backwards, he said, forget it. Let's build a badass unlimited car. And he's here within 2/1000ths of a second of last year's rear-wheel drive record.
I tell you, those Corvettes are incredibly capable, and he's doing that. Cuban, you'll have to remind me, what's kind of the horsepower in that Corvette when you compare it to something like that big old twin-turbo GTR?
Okay, so Eric is running 840 horsepower, But let me tell you something, and this is something that people that are technical understand. His IATs on his fastest lap were 170 degrees. So he's losing 30 to 50 horsepower on timing alone for the car pulling timing to protect itself. Now, Faris Khartoumi, I'm not going to tell you what setting he was on when he set the record because I don't know. But his car will do between 1,000 and 1,500 horsepower. I believe he was at the 1,300 horsepower range. But when you see Ferris's car from last year, it has significantly more drag. Also, huge front wing, big rear wing. And the thing about his is it does have a rear radiator, so he has more ducting and scoops to get air to the radiator itself. So he is creating much more drag. Now, I would say having 1,300 horsepower is going to overdo the drag that he's gaining from it. But I would say Eric Fleming's car is a lot more slippery in the air than Faris Khartoumi's is.
Even when you just compare a bone stock Corvette, even the C6, to a bone stock GTR, you put them next to each other, and you can even see that aero profile difference that you're talking about. So, yeah, the Corvette definitely easier to push through the air than that larger GTR frame. And really, I think that drag effect is going to be kind of significant. Anything well over 125, 135, 40 miles an hour, and then the further you go up, just the worse and worse it gets. So I would say the majority of the track, the GTR using that horsepower definitely has the advantage, and then looks like the Corvette just doing an awesome job with car setup, driver coaching. Also credit to that driver of Eric Fleming, who's, we get the results on the screen here, in that number 830 in the unlimited class, putting down the 203.85, scorching lap here at COTA. Then Gabe Zamora in that black Porsche in the limited class with a 215.64. Gary Wong is going to be rounding out the third place in that run group at 215.83. But look at how close all of these limited class cars are, from Gabe Zamora at a 15.6 all the way down. I would say even Jackie Ding down here at a 16.3. That is less than a second separating all of those handfuls of drivers. And a couple other notables, Kyle McHugh in the street class, 229.58.
Absolutely, Joey. And this was an amazing session to watch. Eric Fleming, 3,000ths off Ferris's record with his naturally aspirated V8. You could see here on the grid, Gridlife Touring Cup second race ready to go out. If you guys did not wake up this morning and you missed their standing start race at COTA, I'm going to tell you right now, you missed one of the most exciting GLTC races I've seen here at COTA. Luckily for you, we're about to see their second race of the day go live. This is Cuban from Super Lap Battle. Get ready for some exciting Gridlife Touring Cup racing, and we'll catch you right after.
flag flies, and we're racing in Gridlife Touring Cup. Side by side. Down the inside, 3 wide into 4. Huge mess. Look at them. 5 cars on top of each other under a blanket. You can't see these 2 cars race against each other anywhere else.
Gridlife Touring Cup action at its best, folks. How do you like this?
The day is well underway at Circuit of the Americas for Super Lap Battle and for Gridlife Touring Cup. Race 3 of the weekend is just moments away as the 20-car field preps to do battle this morning at the 3.5-mile, 20-turn Grand Prix circuit here in the Lone Star State. Welcome back to COTA. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined this morning by Chris Stewart, co-founder and creative director of Gridlife. Chris, every year we kick off a racing season at this event with Super Lap Battle at one of North America's most prestigious circuits.
Yeah, it's really exciting to be here, and shout out to Jason and the Global Time Attack family. We really appreciate the invite, and it's so great to kind of support the community, and this is a really early event for us. Well, we're being from the Midwest. It might still be snowing in Chicago, but it's a great way for us to come in, shake the rust off, and really kick off the season.
Yeah, certainly it's a great way to shake the rust off for drivers and for their cars as well. A lot of new builds,
Absolutely.
A lot of new faces here in the field as well, Chris. And that's one of the things about this is it gives us kind of a regional expansion to the south as well.
100%. So it's always great to bring more people into the community, and that's really what Gridlife, GLTC, Track Battle, and Global Time Attack Super Lap Battle is all about: community, right? Keeping motorsports going, bringing new people in, and bringing that context to participatory motorsports. And it's really, really awesome to be able to do it at a track like this.
Yeah, certainly. And the pace lap is underway here for GLTC Race 3. This is our penultimate race of the weekend. The finishing order from the exciting Race 2 this morning is what set this order. It's Luke McGrew on pole again alongside James Houghton in the number 41. And Matan Rosenberg starts third in the number 484. Chris, he's got an ALMS livery from 2009 Corvette Racing.
I know. I watched that unfold on social, and I was like, man, what a cool direction.
And that's the part of the beauty of this is a lot of the drivers have really made the livery game very, very strong. I think it's one of the proudest things that our series does.
No, it's really cool. Also, just even thinking back to the first GLTC round at Mid-Ohio and how the look of the field has evolved, right? And how people strive for it, and it's a part of people's programs. I think it's really awesome to see people kind of strive not only for the build itself, technically, the racecraft, but then also the look, and that makes for better presenting racing.
Couple updates after Race 2. James Cathers was knocked down the finishing order for a dyno issue post Race 2. And then the spin from Gary Wimble was caused by a broken differential. He's done for the weekend, but thankfully there was no contact in that, so he was able to escape that. Brian Tyson had a brake issue. I don't think he's made the grid for this third race of the weekend. Fields side by side. Luke McGrew is elected for driver's right for the start of this one. James Houghton thinks he's got a horse for the course here as we head towards turn number 1. They call that big red up here, waiting for the green flag. It's a long, wide front straightaway, 2x2, 20 cars deep here at COTA. Green flag flies, and we're underway here, Chris. 4 wide already as we head up towards turn 1.
All right, I'm watching Mike McGillis to see how he sets up with the Subaru, but let's look at this front.
5 wide. Look at Jensen up the inside. No way they can make that work into turn 1. Still door to door. Houghton tries to pull through. Jensen jumps the curb. Now down the hill for the lead. If Houghton can pull this off, he'd have it, but not quite. He's going to tuck back in line.
Man, I know he was hoping to kind of take the lead and seize that after turn 1, so we'll just have to see how this battle unfolds.
Lawson Crane is in that red BMW alongside Matan Rosenberg. Lawson's going to try to pull through into third place. That's the last step on the podium. He's through. Houghton hounding Luke McGrew as they head through the S's and towards turn 7. Chris, lots of undulations and elevation here. Kind of hard to see over the sight lines as we head towards the uphill.
I mean, this is one of my favorite parts of the track. I came here for the first inaugural F1 Grand Prix, and I was sitting in those stands, and it was just an awesome vantage to watch cars battle through those S's.
Oh, a little bit wide there for a couple of the cars. I think Matan's lost another spot. Yes, that's to Eric Magnuson in the number 330. Started at the tail of the field in race number 2. Drove up to 7th place. Here's the 17 of Tony Marchev on Eric Jensen down into turn 11. He's going to pull through and make that pass complete. Michael Hilo in that red 350Z is going to try to set himself up for a pass down into turn 12. And now we wait, Chris, for this long back straightaway. But Houghton hounding Luke McGrew for the lead.
He's staying on him, that's for sure. Not too much separation through the rest of the pack, but they're really walking away.
And for that top spot, the draft, the slipstream, Luke's car maybe 2-3 miles an hour better on the straightaway, but if you tuck in behind, that lead car is doing all the work for you, pushing the air out of the way, and it's nose to tail here, a car length between the two leaders.
Now it's just all about perfection. James has got to just stay focused, not make any errors, and hopefully he can stay on the tail.
He described Luke McGrew as casually perfect. Maybe he can take advantage of that. He said that there are times that Luke's casualness can be a deficit to his own performance. Let's see. Look at James closing in through turn 15 as some side-by-side behind him, but it is a battle for the top spot into the carousel.
Yeah, starting to set it up.
Nose to tail here through the long right-hander. The battle's behind him here. There's Eric Jensen on the outside of Hilo. Jensen went under Kyle Hale and one other competitor. I think it was Julio Crispin in the last 2 corners of race 2. It was an unbelievable move. And here comes Houghton to the outside here, Chris to the outside.
Chasing it. There he goes with the drag race. Let's see.
Into turn 20, and he's going to turn down in, and now it's going to be throttle up drag race. Houghton clears for the lead. Wow. Here we go. For the first time this weekend, James Houghton has completed the pass on Luke McGrew somewhere other than the front straightaway. So he's now got the advantage. We'll see if he can keep it, Chris.
Now it looks like we might have a 3-way battle, maybe a 4.
Yeah, there's Lawson Crane there in 3rd place. That's that red BMW. In the background, there's McGinnis is making a pass on one of his competitors, but 5 cars in this front pack, and James Houghton trying to pull a lead on Luke McGrew. Last year, they were separated by just 1 point in the season championship. James had an opportunity to win the championship mathematically going into Lime Rock Park. He made a mistake that cost him that opportunity, but this year with Swenson gone, the throne is open for the taking, and it's going to be these 2, I bet, based on this weekend and past ones, that will be going for the title this year.
They're some of the most fiercest competitors in the field, and with incredible craft and incredible prep on the vehicles, right? So, all the boxes checked. So it's going to be awesome to watch this story unfold through the year.
And they check those boxes in such different ways, too. Luke usually shows up on his own. He's got assistance from his competitors in the paddock, but James Houghton's got a whole team behind him, Unit 2 Fab and K-Tuned, and they worked so closely together throughout the weekend to solve problems. But it is sometimes like taking a knife to a gunfight for Luke when he's all on his own. But his engineering, his skill level behind the wheel usually makes up for that deficit.
Yeah, and I think part of that, kind of casual perfection is like the car as well, right? Like trying to get something that's going to get him the seat time and really, stay running through the weekend. Looks like the fight continues.
Yeah, for 3rd place, it's Eric Magnuson. He's a new competitor here this weekend. He's doing all the festival rounds this year. Over-under on Lawson Crane. That's a good battle between 2 BMWs right now. Lawson ran with us last season. He's a local competitor from the Austin area, and they're going to continue to over-under here through the stadium section, designed in a similar way to the Hockenheim Ring in Germany, and it leaves all these opportunities for overing and undering, and Matan Rosenberg setting up to do the same as the 2 leaders continue to run within a car length of each other. And knowing Houghton and what he said about Luke's car, he is working very hard right now to keep Luke in the rear view.
I believe it. I think you can see how evenly matched they are as drivers, and the way that they make speed differently, it's just incredible to watch. And, as 2 and 3 start to chop it up, they're really just walking away again.
Yeah, and I think the benefit to them is that they're both fast enough to be able to race and still drive away, but if they get side by side, that battle will become for the lead again. So Lawson Crane into 3rd place, a pretty comfortable 3rd at the moment, as Eric Magnuson is back in the hands of Matan Rosenberg. Tony Marchev's up to 6th place, and Jensen, McGinnis, Cathers, and Michael Hilo, the rest of the top 10. Luke McGrew turns in tight at the exit at turn 1, throttles down in Corvette power now down through turn 2, widens out the corner. Maybe he'll try to tuck in here into the S's.
So where do you think the best opportunity is for Luke here on this track?
I still think it's going to be down the back straightaway into turn 11. That's where he's had his advantage all weekend long, but that was at a point when James had an issue with a VTEC solenoid that he was able to replace. So James is really up to what should be his max allowable power, and that's going to make Luke's advantage kind of diminish. But Luke is, for the first time, really on offense here this weekend. In race 1, James did lead the race for a handful of laps, but Luke passed him so quick he didn't really have to battle him, but now the battle is on.
No, it's going to be really awesome to see this, just kind of this tension build up over these next few laps, and Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Always awesome to see like two such different types of cars battling it out, and it's one of the things that's just so awesome about this series.
Yeah, 4-cylinder front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive V8 under the hood of Luke McGrew's car. The one other big difference is that James has no anti-lock brakes, so he's going to, well, here comes Luke McGrew with that power on the backstretch in the slipstream down to turn 11. This is where his advantage is on the brakes. James is going to struggle here as well, but he dove in there pretty hard. But if he can keep overlap here, just like he's doing, Chris, he'll have the right-hander and the advantage.
Boom. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing, and I love it when these battles like start to unfold, and it seems like we get a lot of these in race 3, right? So as the weekend progresses, as the weekend progresses, right, drivers learn more. They learn more about their competitors, they learn more about themselves, they learn more about their cars, they make refinements, they make tweaks, and that's one of the cool things about the format too.
Little wiggle there by Luke McGrew as he tried to squeeze underneath the 41. This is a great battle, but it's clear that James is on the hind foot here.
Yes.
He's really trying to keep Luke behind. What he hasn't done yet is drive defensively, though. He's left the lane open. We'll see if he starts to take a protective line into some of the harder corners, but Luke is on him. He's got an advantage in acceleration and an advantage in braking. But here he comes up the inside for turn 20. Took a look, though, tried to bait James into blocking.
Yeah, it seems like you can see the strategy changing a little bit, you know, and man, just every corner, here we go. Yeah,
Luke got a nice underneath turn there as James ran a bit wide and now up the straightaway. Again, Honda 4-cylinder under the hood of the TSX and a V8 from Chevrolet under the black car. Into turn 1 again. Luke should have this pass, but James is going to drive in hard on the outside, side by side through turn 1.
Boom. Yeah, he really took that one late, and it's so awesome to see still, even in the drag race, how evenly matched they can be.
Now, this is going to be who backs out here, side by side into the S's. Luke's got the preferred line, but he's going to back out.
Oh, no.
James Houghton pulls ahead, and this is an important pass for him to make. This is just, it's who's going to break first. They're calling each other's bluff at the moment, and Luke, that casually perfect driving, he's got just a lot of ability to know, I don't think I want to put my car there. I'm going to back out and try this again. He's clearly got an advantage, but look who's closing in, Lawson Crane.
Right, as the battle continues up front, right, the leaders slow just a little bit, and then now we might have a 3-way battle coming up.
Yeah, Lawson, it's like smelling blood in the water, and the dorsal fin is circling this battle up at the front for the moment. Again, James stays on the racing line. As soon as you go defensive, your entry is so shallow that you're going to compromise the exit. You cannot do that with this very long back straightaway. You have to use all the racetrack to your advantage, especially in a horsepower race like they have here. But Luke's back about 5-6 car lengths. He's going to close this up a bit, Chris, but if Luke doesn't have the advantage here and isn't able to get alongside him, James should be able to hang on to this, at least for this lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how the small variances in each of these turns, kind of set up, and you can see it all just kind of unfold like little bit by little bit by little bit, every little move, every little decision.
I don't think anyone could have comprehended, the battle for second in the championship would be so hotly contesting for the first spot in the championship this year. It's so early. We end the season in October at Pittsburgh International Race Complex, but with the throne left open, these were the two drivers that we anticipated to jump into that spot. And clearly, the fight is starting early this season.
100%, but there's also the things to consider of like the individuals that are not here, that did not, have not finished their builds, that are like waiting for CMP in the forthcoming rounds. So like this is going to get spicy this year.
It's going to get really spicy, and right now, it's interesting to see Luke dropping back a bit. He was really aggressive that last lap around, so could have overheated the tires. Again, we're not on a slick racing tire. We're on 200 treadwear street tires. So you can overheat them pretty quickly, especially with the weight that he's got. In comparison to James, his car, in theory, would fall off towards the end of the race where James would keep a bit more pace in the car. But we didn't see that in race 1, but Luke closing in again.
Yeah, and I know the drivetrain probably has something to do with that as well, right? So you've got different wear, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. So, they're both probably managing, tire and grip levels at this point.
Well, the front tires on that TSX are doing pretty much everything. The rear tires are just there to keep the frame from scraping on the ground effectively. Right. So you're braking, accelerating, and turning with the front tires, where the Corvette has the advantage of using the rears for acceleration. So the tires can only do so many things at once. So the TSX is going to have some advantages and disadvantages, but he's got now a 6-7 car length lead, and it seems like Luke isn't able to keep as close to the rear bumper. So the slightly smaller Corvette in the rear view, that's going to give Houghton a little bit of a moment to breathe.
Yeah, no, so I think they're probably just settling in, relaxing, focusing on, those individual laps. And I don't know, I got to know, kind of how Luke's feeling right now, and like think about it, like, does that casualness crank up, in these scenarios? Does he push a little bit, or is he pretty much Mr. Consistent?
We will find out, but he's told us he can light the afterburners when he needs to. And
Okay.
there's
All right.
this battle here between Eric Magnussen and Matan Rosenberg, a little over-under there from Matan. I think Eric is older than Matan. He's got a lot more experience as far as wheel-to-wheel racing is concerned. Matan's been with us for a handful of years, but he's still very young. Well, look at Magnussen having a look here. As, the livery that Matan's car was based on was raced when Matan was 5 years old, and that was 2009, just for reference.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things I noticed about Matan's car is that he's running wingless. Tell us a little bit about, like, why?
Yeah, so he came into the weekend thinking, all right, big racetrack, low drag, that's the setup I'm going to go with. But he was struggling in practice to maintain any kind of composure in the fast, high-speed corners. So he does have a piece of Lexan bolted to the rear trunk now. That actually came off of Houghton's car from a different configuration he runs. I'm not sure how much it's helping, but he hasn't really seemed to be chasing that car around all that much. So it's clearly doing something as we continue to circulate here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, and we're looking every corner to see, did Luke light those afterburners? Is he coming in hotter? Is he braking later?
White flag. 1 lap to go. So this battle continues for P4 at the moment. Rosenberg versus Magnussen. And these cars, it might as well have Maersk on the side of them. It's like they're carrying shipping containers. They're so heavy compared to the other cars in the field. Looking for the lead, though. Only half a car length, and Luke is on it now.
There's those afterburners. So, he's holding a secret, kind of tricking us through the last few laps, and then lights that fire.
He's flipped the switch to arm the missiles now, and we'll see when he takes his shot. But it's going to have to come, I think, going into turn 11. Houghton knows that. And Luke a little offline there. See how it compromised his exit? He lost a car length.
Lost a little bit.
It's going to all come down to the exit of turn 11. If James can nail that, then he'll build himself enough of a gap to protect. Big slide there into turn 7, though.
Yeah, you can just see the decisions compound here in this final lap, especially when the pressure's on. So let's see how this all unfolds coming up to 11. Coming up into turn 10 into the straight.
Yeah, this is not the largest gap that he's had, but it is not a small one, so he should be able, if he can just nail this exit. Luke knows how critical this turn is. Closing in, only a car length between them. Luke's going to power down. Nice, clean exit for both. And Luke's close enough. I think he's going to have a run. James is going to move left a bit, I think, to protect this, unless he thinks he can stay to the outside and maintain that right side line into turn 13 like before.
I can feel the anxiety between these two right now.
Here we go. It's going to be a braking duel again into turn 12. Who's got the brakes? Who's got the bravery? Onto the binders into turn 12. Luke's not quite fully alongside. James is in way too hot. Blows the corner at 12, and here comes Luke McGrew.
Oh, man.
To the lead, but James sees an opportunity, backs out. Can he tuck underneath here in 13? Luke McGrew takes the lead, and with half a lap to go, can he steal this one from James Houghton?
I don't know. It looks like James has fallen back, maybe shook a little bit from that error.
And now through turn 15, running out of time, running out of corners. This is all a mental game at this point, and I think James might have already lost it. Through 16, 17, and 18, the carousel. One final time here in race 3. Big slide for Luke McGrew. He was chasing the car over the road. Look at Houghton to the
James
green.
Way off.
He is absolutely driving this car to the limit. He's going to miss 19 as well, but the race already lost at turn 12 back a half a lap ago. Luke McGrew is going to go 3 for 3 and steal it in the last half of a lap from James Houghton. Checkered flag, and Luke McGrew snags one at COTA. Houghton second, Lawson Crane third, and Magnussen, Matan Rosenberg, and Tony Marchev, the rest of your top 6, Chris.
Man, it's always every GLTC race, you think it's locked, and then it switches.
Hello! Wow, Stubbs going for a slide there out of turn 20. Wow, he's putting on a show.
Yeah.
And Kyle Hale coming up as well. That's for 11th spot. But, man, last lap pass, and Luke set him up.
He did.
Got in his rear view, and I don't think, had they gone in there side to side, I don't know that Luke would have passed him. But James, Luke called his bluff, drove in there out of his rear view mirror. Perfect offensive driving by Luke McGrew, and James just couldn't see him in the mirror, and that was that. There's Vitas Aronowskis. That's down at turn 11. And that's kind of a weird spot to end up.
It's a weird spot.
So I'm trying to figure out how he could have gotten there, unless he backed up and had an issue, or if he had spun off to the left. But either way, he will get picked up, and we'll check in on that for race number 4. But the checkers wave. The field comes under the control of the slowing race winner, Luke McGrew. So 3 for 3, Chris, but now is when the weekend really gets fun because we have that random inversion.
Yeah, so, and based off of the size of the field, what could that inversion fall?
It's usually the top 25% of the field, so in a 20-car race, that could be really down to 5th, but we could see 6 or 7 cars inverted. It's a random dice roll now for 2024.
Nice. Yeah.
Adam bought a bag of 50 of them, so if we lose them, we've got
if you lose a
replacements.
dice, you got another.
So that dice will get rolled, and we'll know what the invert is fairly. I think one of the drivers rolls it now, so we're not going to know until before the race. But when we invert that, it means that, let's say we invert 5, it means Rosenberg would be the pole sitter, and then Magnussen would be second, and so on and so forth. The biggest thing for Luke McGrew is the only car he's had to pass at all this weekend is James Howell.
Right.
So
Right.
if he's got to pass other cars now, it might give James an opportunity to drive away. And James will start ahead of Luke because of the nature of the inversion. So that's going to be just a runaway, play tag scenario for James.
I mean, I always think of James as a little bit one of the more aggressive and opportunistic drivers within the field, right? So he's going to take advantage of all of those things and think about every angle, to try and put himself as far in front of his rival as possible. So it's going to be a really, really spicy and interesting race 4.
Another car parked off the exit of turn 1, and that is an MX-5. I think that's Kevin Bandy, another new competitor who's also planning on running much of the season. He was telling me about some of his livery ideas, and I'm very excited for what that car will look like.
I love that people are talking about livery ideas, and it's like still it's a part of the program. Being a creative director, and like thinking about how everything presents, and how people present themselves, and how we're able to present them. It's just so cool to see all that stuff step up year over year.
So as the cars roll around the carousel now, we're going to head back to the paddock. We'll scale the cars, dyno a few, make sure everyone's playing by the rules. And then race 4 will be this afternoon, and that one will be our final race of the weekend. We'll tally the points up, Chris, and then we'll declare a champion on the weekend. But I think Luke, with 3 wins, is going to be pretty hard to take that away, especially with pole. I think he's already got it locked up.
There'd have to be some significant errors, or
he's got to pass tech.
Yeah, he's got to pass tech, right? So got to pass tech. So assuming out of scrutineering and out of impound all as well, there'd have to be some pretty significant errors outside of that casual perfection, in order for him to fall down the order.
Race 3 is complete for Gridlife Touring Cup. We're going to toss it back to the Super Lap Battle crew for the next handful of sessions, and we'll be back this afternoon for the 4th and final race of the weekend here at Circuit of the Americas for Gridlife Touring Cup. Kyle Heyer with Chris Stewart. We'll see you again later today.
Green flag flies, and we're racing in Gridlife Touring Cup. Side by side.
Down the inside, 3 wide into 4.
Huge mess. Look at them. 5 cars on top of each other under a blanket. You can't see these 2 cars race against each other anywhere else.
Gridlife Touring Cup action at its best, folks. How do you like this?
Link is the engine management solution for champions the world over. We know what it takes to win, pushing boundaries, performing under pressure, and having the best people on your team. Our tech support are performance specialists, available 24 hours and ready to talk one-on-one about your winning formula. Link ECU. The performance, reliability, and power to get to the podium.
What an exciting Gridlife Touring Cup race. You know, you think you know how it's going to end up, and then in those final corners, you see James Hooten just blowing that corner and giving Luke McGrew every opportunity to win the third race of the weekend. We do have updated standings for the event. Let's see where these people sit right now going into this Session 6, Group 5. Starting with GTX class, here are the two sub 2-minute laps. Rob Bell with a 159.596, followed very close by Mr. Austin and Mr. Andrews at a 159.846. Jensen Little is knocking on the door of the 159 with his 2-minute 080. In max effort class, Mike Dussault is still leading that with a 208.068. Clay Shearer with a 212.854, and Sean Bassett with a 227.716. Enthusiast class, Jonathan Wheeler, who said he would send it Session 1, is obviously going to send it Session 2, leading with a 226.233. Robert Rushton still sitting at his 237.26. And hopefully Steve Wynn and his team have figured out that car and that flat tire with his 233.214. I hope his weekend doesn't end on just that.
Then we've got the street class with Kyle McHugh there at a 217.14, really leading the way there. Turner Dobbins second at a 219.06. Thomas Smith at a 219.98 kind of rounds out the top three in that class. Anthony Pearson, Ryan Matthews involved in the top 5 in that one. Also have the limited class results so far. Gabe Zamora in that 777 with a 215.649 currently leads the way. Right behind him, Gary Wong at a 215.8, and even closer behind Gary is Brad Perkins at a 215.84. And this limited class is really packed. You go up and down. Give credit to George Zhao, also Zenyang Wang there inside of the top 5. All of those times incredibly close. And then we also have the unlimited class. We saw Cole Powelson lay down that 202.53. And we saw Eric Fleming this morning put down that 203.85. So the track is definitely fast out there. Also got Eric Sutton, Brett Dickey, and Jeremy Lauder in this unlimited class.
Speaking to the Eric Fleming team, they absolutely have the record. If you talk to Eric Fleming, he'll tell you he really blew the carousel on his fast lap. He's 3/1000ths off of Ferris's record from last year. From what I was hearing, he was on scrub tires. They have a set of fresh tires they're ready to put on and send. So hopefully we see him not just take the record, but really take it with authority. Coming out right there, that is Jensen Little leaving the hot pits. I believe he definitely wants to see that sub 2. For those of you that don't know, Jensen Little has been a staple at this event. The very first year, he actually took third in Unlimited with his incredibly built NC Miata. Probably one of the cleanest looking cars out there. That was Cole Powelson. James Houghton, who's actually racing GLTC this weekend, took second, and Jensen Little took third in Unlimited overall. So that was very exciting.
Watching the rest of the cars come out onto the racetrack for their warm-up lap here. That was a Mercedes GT3 base car. Here comes a Porsche Cup car. And I believe the last one to get out on track for the outlap, this blue Corvette heading out of pit lane right now. And all of the drivers, they do about 70% on the outlap. It is dictated by that first driver, so get everybody up to temperature, nice and warm and evenly spaced out to start the flyer.
And that's Clay Shearer in that beautiful C6 Z06 bodied Corvette, twin turbo, very similar to a setup you would see out of Ferris's car. I believe Ferris really started this trend. Obviously, other people have been building twin turbo Corvettes for a while, but we have not seen them in this orientation in time attack driving. Mike Dussault from Dussault Designs is actually the shop that put that car together. So not only do they bring their own car, they really bring everything going on with that. Now, from what I'm hearing, we'll cut to him in a few, but it looks like Mark Yeager has pinned down Eric Fleming. So let's see these cars do these warm-up laps, give Eric a chance to get his thoughts together and hopefully not run away from Mark.
as the cars kind of complete this first warm-up lap here, there's that final Corvette now going down the back straightaway, which means the lead of the group should be coming close to the start-finish line, if not starting their laps right there. And here goes the first across the line, or one of the first across the line was that LMP3 car, and this is Rob Bell in that McLaren already attacking turn number 1. So this is the start of those hot laps.
Let's see if we can track this McLaren across this track. I know we've been watching a lot of these high downforce, crazy time attack builds. Watching one of these purpose-built race cars make it around the track. Go ahead and tell me what you're seeing with this one, Joey.
Well, Rob Bell is a fantastic driver, McLaren factory guy out there. So if you're looking for somebody to pilot this McLaren, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this driver. And you see he's perfectly on the racing line. He's got the car halfway over the apex curbs where he needs to, and all the way over the exit curbs when he needs to as well. So he's just extracting the most lap time. And here we go. He's actually going to let the LMP3 car by. So Rob still getting the car up to temperature, just taking it nice and easy on a second out lap and letting his competitor by without holding them up.
Jensen Little being in that Norma chassis ready to go. Let's see how his braking zone here is at the end of the back straight. But Rob Bell being a professional, he feels like those tires were not up to the temperature he needed. He's probably going to want to send it on that second lap. He's obviously not going to want to go slow down this back straight, so he's going to bring it into the braking zone. What a lot of people don't get is the scrubbing left and right isn't what brings heat and pressure into the tires. That just cleans the tires off. These guys get all the pressure in their tires from hard braking zones, hard acceleration zones. The heat from the brake actually permeates through the wheel and brings the pressure up into the tire.
To talk about the tires a little bit more, you know, I don't know what specific tire this McLaren is on, but if it's on anything like a GT3 spec Michelin or anything like that, it actually takes a couple laps for it to come up to temperature. So depending on what tire they have, they could go out and light the world on fire the first lap, or it could take 2 or 3 laps for the tires and pressures to really come up into their optimal range. Yes, you can be flying on a suboptimal set, but trust me, the car and the driver is the happiest when everything is at temperature. And here we go. So Rob and the McLaren is going to be kicking off this lap, going up into turn number 1, and you see him fully at speed, going over all of those undulations in the brake zone. The McLaren settling nice after it goes over the bumps, and then once again just cut it all the way down to the inside. Look at him using all of that apex curb, and he keeps it over to the right side to really set up for these S's. He's carrying maximum amount of speed going into these S's, and once again all the way over that apex curb, really shortening the distance, holding the radius on the McLaren. So doing an excellent job, and once again, look at him all the way over these apex curbs, probably a full 3/4 of a car width over, and even over the exit curb. So this is a driver that says, you know what, I'm not just going to use the black stuff, I'm going to use all of the track available to me. And actually might have been a little bit early down there into turn 11 and compromised his exit just a touch. But as long as he's able to put the power down at a decent time, it shouldn't affect his top end speed too much. Breathe just a touch and focus on that brake marker. Once again, click down the gears once you stand on that pedal pressure here. And gosh, look at that car decel. You know, it looks like it's carrying so much entry speed, and it just is able to slow the thing all the way down. Once again, really keeping it on the right side of the track, the shortest distance around. I bet you we're going to see something similar here. Yeah, once again, not even all the way out to the edge of the track through that slow section. Just really just giving what the car is taking, you know. And then here we go through the fast, long right-hander of 17 and 18. No aero balance upset all the way over to the driver's right-hand side to set up for 19. Carries maximum speed all the way through. One more turn, and this at least looks like a very, very clean lap from the McLaren. We'll see how fast it is once he crosses the start-finish line. It's going to be Rob Bell at a 1:59.4.
Yes, but let's speak about it. Jensen Little, who hadn't broken that 2-minute barrier, with a 1:58.868. Everyone had their eyes on Rob Bell, and Jensen Little said, listen, guys, I want to play spoiler. I'm a 1:58.868. He can chase me if he wants. Behind him is Pedroia with a 2:01.095. Latrell with a 208. But let's talk about Tanner Faust for a second before we jump down to Mark in this interview. A 209.733. Tanner Faust has dropped 5 to 7 seconds from his earlier laps yesterday to today. Not only is the track faster, but you could tell he's coming to grips with this car, with the surface, with everything going on. Mr. Shearer with a 211.051 in that Corvette. That's going to be one of his fastest laps. What a killer session right now. Now you got Jensen Little getting out of the way, obviously. He doesn't want to block Rob Bell at all. And I'm sure Jensen Little is in there pumping his fist right now because he just laid down the first 58 we have ever seen in competition.
And I'm not too surprised. I mean, that is a little go-kart with bodywork on it. I mean, it's an LMP3 car, so if anybody is familiar with endurance racing, these cars race all over the world, and they really are basically an entry-level prototype. However, when you uncork the things in terms of the motor and whatnot, they have tremendous potential, and you look at them over in something like IMSA WeatherTech, and these LMP3 cars smoke the GT3 cars all day long. So really the potential inside this little silver Norma is great, and a 158, I think personally Jensen Little is right on top of it, and what that thing can do, he might even be able to go faster.
Absolutely. And what a lot of people are unaware of is that McLaren is making much more power than it would in its homologated state. It's in the 800 something horsepower range. There is no GT3 car out there that is making those levels of power. Now, of course, they could. We were talking about restrictions and balance of performance and all these things required to make racing good, but that one has the wick turned all the way up.
And I think really where those prototype cars shine is here at COTA, it's such an aero-aggressive racetrack. There's lots of medium to high-speed corners, so the lateral transitions through a prototype, a prototype car does everything better than a production-based car, you know? So those GT3s,
Absolutely.
They are still production-based, and it's still amazing what a factory race car effort can do. And like I said, those prototypes, if anybody ever gets the chance to get behind the wheel, they will blow your mind.
From prototypes to production-based, let's talk to the man who has been blowing the lap times down with that production-based Corvette. Let me know what's going on with Eric Fleming, Mark.
All right, I'm here with Eric Fleming in his Corvette that he just ran a 203 naturally aspirated. Eric, tell me about this lap. Tell me about this team. How did you get here? Why are you here? Why is this car NA?
Yeah, that's all a great question. Man, I don't even know. We're not anywhere near where we thought we would be. We're so much faster than what we anticipated. To be naturally aspirated and running 203s at COTA is unbelievable. I have to thank everybody at G-Speed. If you look down in our garage stall, they are constantly working on the car, constantly checking, making it better, making sure that I can go out there confidently turn the laps I need to turn. We are 3,000ths off last year's record, which is unbelievable. I am seconds ahead of where I anticipated. I even where I dreamed we might end up. So, just a great weekend. I can't be happier.
So originally we had some problems with your car. How'd you work through those?
True, yeah. Yesterday in practice, 2 days ago in practice, we blew the dip up, blew the stub axle out. So, again, G-Speed, they're 3 hours north of here. They went to the shop. They got another dip. Worked all night to replace it. Got me back out there in the morning. Again, without them, I would be home right now back in Georgia. So, a phenomenal weekend for everybody. It takes, I'm turning the wheel, but without them, we couldn't do this. So, it takes a team.
So, big question is, can you go any faster?
Absolutely. We have 10 left in it. I don't think we're going to chase Cole. He set a phenomenal lap today. But we have time. We know where it's at. I've got to do it. And sometimes that's easier said than done.
Absolutely. So, guys, we're going to really root on Eric. We're going to see if he can get that rear-wheel drive record, and let's hope he can. He's really close. So we're going to get back to the action. Have a good one.
Eric Fleming has always made it a point to have us watch him through entire sessions, but also through entire events. Since the first time I met him at Road Atlanta at the first GTA he did till today, he has progressively gone faster. There are competitors that stick in the same range and slowly move forward, as everyone is different. But every time I see Eric Fleming, no matter what the trim the car is in, it's leaps and bounds. And at these speeds, at these levels, tenths aren't something that are just easy to grab off the table. Joey, talk to our viewers here about what tenths really mean when you're at the top 10% of your lap time.
It gets harder and harder to extract that lap time. Now, when you're only within, let's say, 70% of what you can actually do, it's easy to make those bigger jumps and those bigger swings. But like you said, when you finally get down to kind of that nitty-gritty, not even the 10%, I would say the last 5%, last 3% is it's focusing on details, right? You should have already known the basics at that point of how to get into the corner and how to get out of the corner with maximum effect and maximum speed. You should know how to get into and out of S sections. And then it's really just fine-tuning those each little bits. And I said it earlier, you can't take a big swing at turn one. You got to take maybe half a tenth off at entry and maybe half a tenth off at apex. You can't be looking for multiple tenths per corner. It's just a little bit in turn one, maybe a little bit going into the S's, maybe carrying a little bit more speed through turn 7, but also still being able to hold the car down towards that apex. Maybe it's just giving a little bit up on the brake zone so that way it improves your corner exit speed on that long straightaway on that top end. So when it comes down to the very, very small margins, Cuban, I would say that it's no longer big swings. It's all in the fine little details and just kind of cleaning it up at every single corner.
Speaking of big swings, Tanner Faust ending the session at a 209 from his 211. That's a big swing. Austin and Andrews at a 206. Luttrell and Peterson at a 204. Will Putrajaya at a 2-minute 840. He has been knocking on that 2-minute door, but I think the biggest swing we have here is Jensen Little going straight from a 2 to a 158. Rob Bell and his team over at Rafa Racing said this second run group, second session was going to be the fastest. Now they're going to be behind the 8 ball trying to really chase that lap time. Obviously, they broke 2 minutes. They're excited, and I don't blame them. But knowing that you were the fastest car on track and having someone like Jensen Little, who is an amazing driver, just leapfrog right over you from third to first has to be one of the most stressful feelings as a competitor. Now, knowing those guys at Rafa Racing, they're not going to give up. Whether they thought this was the best session or not, they're going to try and go out there and send it in the following session and see what kind of lap times they can lay down.
I think the big thing that McLaren can probably take away from the session here is, I mean, they further improved their lap time from that 59 that they put down. So they laid down another faster at a 59.1. So I mean, I would say that the consistency in that car is extremely repeatable. It's really just up to Rob and the air temperature that's out there and what Rob can extract out of the car, because he's going to extract all of the performance available.
Speaking of extracting max performance out of the car and trying to go faster than you have, let's go ahead and jump down to Jonathan Wheeler, who fibbed to us and said session 1 was his session. John, let us know why you would lie to us like that and why this session is the one you really want to send it to.
All right, I got Jonathan Wheeler here. He evaded us on that first session. What happened, John?
Nothing happened in particular. We were looking at the track, looking at the live stream. A couple of cars were having some issues, and with what we're intending to do here in about 20 minutes, didn't feel that was the time to do it. So save the car, do a little bit more prep, and we are ready for some rock and roll.
So what are you going to do in this next session?
I don't know, but it's going to be colorful. We're hunting for a 25. I mean, a 24 would be awesome, but 25 anything. And we'll park the car, we'll leave it right there, and here in about an hour we'll do some inflatable racing down the front straight.
All right, so we don't want to hear no crap from you. We want a 24 bust. Like, we need this 24. Time Attack needs this 24. Let's get it. You going to give it to us?
I'm going to try my hardest. The car has it. Maybe a little bit more driver mod.
All right, you heard it here. If he doesn't do a 24, he's running the entire pit lane in an inflatable suit. All right, guys, back to you.
He's not kidding, by the way. He brought multiple inflatable suits. We have awesome organizations out here and things for charity, things like that. And there's going to be a pretty cool little race down the pit. Has a really cool shot at our drone pilot right there. A really cool race down the pit later. And Jonathan Wheeler, being the boisterous personality that he is, the person we've come to love, he has an inflatable suit he's going to run down, and he said he brought extra inflatable suits. So any of you guys thinking it's funny and you could do it too, go talk to John Wheeler. We're about to have Group 4 Session 5 coming out. Group 4 Session 6 coming out. This is going to be Group 4 Session 6. Every session has been closer and closer. I'm really excited to see what these Group 4 guys do coming out. I think we're going to try our hardest to follow a gentleman named Corey Kreider, Joey. We've had you following and commentating on these Aero cars. Corey is a Subaru hatchback, and for years Mark Yeager has been harping on him to throw some Aero on that, but he has been laying down impressive lap times everywhere he goes with just pure mechanical grip.
I think with most Subarus, you think of all-wheel drive, and the biggest tendency to try to kind of tune out of most Subarus is the understeer, right? They are an all-wheel drive vehicle, but for the most part, the majority of the drive is going through the front wheels. Now, that has changed a lot over the years with the various center differentials and adjustments that these cars and tuners have available to them, but it still kind of holds the same characteristic that you got to tune out the understeer in these Subarus. And here at COTA, we deal with a lot of long radius, long turns here, so you're asking a lot out of the front end. You just have to have that car properly set up, and as long as it can turn on the front end, you have a nice driving Subaru. And Cuban, kind of to your point, if you add some Aero on the front end, it definitely helps with that front end grip.
Absolutely. And as you can see it right here, this white Subaru, just green sticker on the windshield, street class. This is something you would see on the streets if it didn't have any stickers on it. You know what he brings to every event, though? The driver mod. So he's out there, he's just starting his lap, following by this beautiful A90 Supra, and then Tim Turner soon has just become a fan favorite. I was speaking to him and his wife, and everyone in his family is laughing because we're making him talk on camera. We're giving him all this airtime, and he's a shy guy. So, Tim Turner, you're going home to be famous soon. This is also Don Brown's car, who was not able to lay down a lap. We'll check in on him later. Let's go ahead and shoot over to Mark out there in the pits. He has a quick little interview for us before these hot laps start, and we go ahead and start following Corey Kreider's car.
All right, we got Jason Merck here. He's driving two cars. Count them, two. He's got a BMW and a Porsche. He's driving them in two different classes, two different sessions. He's getting double the fun. So tell us about these two cars. Tell us what's good and bad about them at this track.
Well, first we got the BMW M2C, and then we got the Porsche. We got the GT3 RS. Both excellent cars, lots of power, good handling, but they're both brand new builds. Got front engine with the M2, rear engine with the Porsche, so jumping back and forth takes a couple of turns to get back used to it, but it's been a lot of fun running them both, and look forward to keep progressing over the weekend, constantly get faster each session, and keep going.
What kind of lap times are you putting out in each one of these cars?
On the Porsche, we got down into the 21s. With the M2. We're not quite where we want to be yet. We were hoping to get to the mid-teens, but we're working through some wastegate issues, and once we get that figured out, hopefully here next session or the session after, we expect us to get below 20 and then start working our way down to be competitive.
All right, so how are you guys working through this issue? What's going through it?
Tuning. Every time we go out, we're logging, and we're just trying to overcome the BMW programming on the wastegates and log it, send it back to our guys at bin calibration. They send it right back to us. Try it again, keep working. Each one, it's getting better and better and better, but still we're having a little bit of sessions where it falls on its face and we just have no power. We'll be hitting close to 180 on the back straight, and then on the next turn when we come out of the exit, the wastegates don't want to cooperate. So getting better. When we put a full lap together, we think it's going to definitely be competitive again.
All right, you heard it here first. He's going for some big lap times really soon, so we're excited to go watch. Let's get back to the action.
It is exciting to see a driver out there not just pushing two different styles of cars, but pushing himself. We spoke very quickly yesterday about how driving just isn't free. It's absolutely something that takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on everything. I just saw Will Dries go across start-finish, and Corey Kreider was right behind him, so he should be starting his hot lap right now. Corey Kreider just went across start-finish, so as soon as we can pick him up, we will. Give Joey a chance here to really tell you what it looks like for a car with no Aero to go around this track.
While we find that Subaru, I was just going to kind of touch on that point that you just made, having 2 different platforms of car that he was driving. That's great as a driver because you learn so much more. And here is that Subaru now on track. So it's going through what looks to be the S section here. This looks to be turn 6 right now. Then bend it around this long right-hander, coming up to turn number 7. And with these slower classed cars, you know, these street enthusiast classed cars, they don't necessarily look like they're hauling the mail, but they are on the limit of adhesion out there, and they're on the limit of what the tires will definitely give them. So watching the Subaru here, it's all about hitting your marks, right? If you overstep the boundaries, you're not going to gain that lap time. And he's down here in turn number 11 here, so he's going through the apex right there and out onto the back straightaway. And from what I see right now, Cuban, it looks like he could probably explore the track maybe just a little bit more, both on entry and exit. I'm not sure if he's still warming it up or if this is a flyer. If this is a warm-up lap, completely understandable. If it's a flyer, you probably want to get a little bit more out of those turn radiuses, kind of open up the arc a little bit more, use the racetrack just a touch, and come down here to the back end, the straightaway. Hit the brake marker really nice, looked really tight into the apex of turn number 12 there, and talk about it all day that this is the slowest section of the racetrack here. Turns 13 and 14. Now come up to 15 and 16 here, and just got to be so patient with the front end of that car. And you see him really trying to widen that thing on entry because he's got to deal with the front end. Leaves a little bit of track on exit one more time. So I think when I look at the scope of this lap, if he's got in-car video, you could probably use a little bit more track on the entry. You could probably use a little bit more track on the exit and maybe carry a little bit more speed through the apex, which would naturally take the car back out there on the exit a little bit more. But come up to the final turn number 20, and as long as he's able to keep it clean here, this lap should count, and we'll see what kind of time Corey Kreider puts on the board here in this Subaru. Looks like he'll cross the line here and do a 2:35.7.
Absolutely. And if you watch that lap, I think a lot of what you were talking about, we're so used to these other cars with aero that can really push it more into a corner. And as we see a drag race down the front straight, Supras everywhere. But you said it yourself. He may have been a little bit timid going into a corner, but more than that, he wasn't using all of the exit he could have. Multiple corners onto the back straight. After the 2 slowest corners on the track, he's not letting it track out to carry as much speed as possible. So those little things are going to make the big difference. Right here is where we saw Phil Robles' car fail yesterday, so it's nice to see them back on track and go ready to go.
This is that Gran Turismo car, that EG hatch that's in the video game, so you too can go and drive this, albeit virtually. You can't go and drive the real one all the time. And oh, actually looked like there was a car stopped off driver's right there at about turn 14. I don't know if he was just letting the Honda by or if he was having a problem there, but the Honda continues on his lap without any issues.
Well, there was a really good place to stop. It may look quote-unquote dangerous, but it's not, because he is not in an impact zone. He's completely out of the way. He's not anywhere where someone's tracking out. So if the car is hurt, that's it. Now, I'm going to give this one to you. This is Steve Wynn. This is the gentleman who had the tire go out. This is going to be his hot lap from inside. It does look like they had to checker this early, Joey. That car on the inside there, he couldn't get it restarted. They tried really hard to give him time to do so to not take the session away. But, you know, those driver aids, they're great, but they're rough too. You were watching Steve Wynn's lap, and he made the smallest mistake, and he went from being a 10th down to almost a second down, right? How is that as a driver? Doesn't that kind of take away from you when you're trying to be in competition? Because you may make a mistake here, but you could pick up time in other places where your last fastest lap was not so good.
And I think when we talk about the driver aids, remember, they can only react, right? They can't predict what's happening. They can't predict what the driver is going to do. They can't see down the road. So it's only reacting to the driver's input. So if you are engaging those aids, it is all in the driver's input themselves. So sometimes you have to kind of back it off just a little bit, not to engage some ABS. And I would say that the biggest thing that I knows watching that Honda drive around is just kind of the smoothness on the throttle. And we talk about the pedals all the time when it comes to data and looking over lap reviews and whatnot. And the smoother you are on those inputs, whether it be steering inputs or pedal inputs, the happier the car is. The first time you start playing like a pogo stick on that gas pedal, well, guess what it does to the weight? It goes forward, it goes back, it goes forward, it goes back. The differential starts trying to do funky stuff too. So you're telling the car to do all sorts of weird stuff, and it's in the middle of a corner. Sometimes you just have to be more confident and roll onto the throttle and let the car naturally do its thing. And that's just part of understanding some of those nannies and the limits of your car.
It's something where he probably didn't have all the confidence either, because Steve has been lapping here for years now, and his previous lap before he blew that front tire was good. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but you blow a tire on track, it does kind of take your confidence away, because, you know, in the back of your head, you're like, this could have hurt my toe links, this could have hurt my suspension, this could have thrown something out of whack. So it's very difficult to just send one full blast right after you had blown a tire out.
Now, I got to ask you, Cuban, this silver S2000 that we are currently cleaning up out here, was this the same car that was having the problems yesterday that we saw?
The exhaust dangling, to the belt breaking, to the water pump not working, to the car releasing
Fluid.
every bit of its cooling guts on the ground? Yes.
Yeah, okay, copy. I just wasn't sure if it was the same S2000 or not. And, you know, there's good days and bad days at the racetrack, and trust me, not all of them are going to be good days, definitely.
Not at all, but it does seem like Mark is with someone who is having a good day. Mark, give us some news down there on the paddock. Let us know who's going to send it next session, and what do you got going on down there?
All right, I'm here with Turner Dobbins. Turner Dobbins is currently in second place. He's got a 219, and guess who he's chasing? He's chasing Kyle McHugh. Turner, give us an insight into your lap, what you can do to improve upon it. Can you catch him?
I really think I can. I've gotten optimal down there in the low 17s, high 16s. The brakes have been giving me issues all weekend. There's an air bubble in there that I cannot find. I'm just lucky to be out here. The turbo blew up last Sunday. The boys at Counterspace Garage got me some overnight parts from Japan. Had to rebuild literally the entire turbo system, manifold, etc. But they saved and got me back out on track. Kyle was I was his coach for his first track days. So I really hope I beat him. I kind of may have taught him the secret sauce here, which I shouldn't have. I regret that now, but he's driving really well, but I think I may be able to edge him out.
All right, so you were his coach in his very first time at COTA. Now you're competing against him. I think you're going to have a little bit of edge there, so I think you can do the catch. Do you think you can get it done in the next session?
We're trying to get that last little air out of the brakes. If we can do that, I've got a really good chance.
All right, guys. Keep in mind, you got to keep an eye on this guy, Turner Dobbins. He's going after Kyle McHugh in this next session. Let's hope he can get that braking done and get that fast lap going.
And for those of you wondering how far he is from first place, Turner Dobbins ran a 2:19.066. Kyle McHugh's at a 2:17.147. Turner Dobbins was talking to you about an optimal. What he was saying is he has data that shows he's at a low 17 or a high 16. Now, data is one thing, making that happen is another. It is up to the driver to nail every section perfectly that his data shows he can. Getting to that 216 would literally mean he laid down the perfect lap. That's what we're fighting for here, and hopefully he can really bring the fight to Kyle McHugh. But Kyle is sitting at the lowest end of a 217, and I'm sure he is chasing a 216 also.
And if you really want to expand on it, because I've told you I'm a data guy, right? I love the technical stuff, and if you've got an optimal lap time, yes, theoretically it's doable, but sometimes you go into certain sections that you're not on the racing line and that can actually provide a benefit. So you try to match your optimal as best as possible, but sometimes it's just not doable. And we've got the results here for this run group of session number 6. It was William Stillwater leading that street class with a 223.4. Brad Wells next up in the limited class with a 229.6. Then came Philip Robles back here also in the limited class with a 232.2. Then in the street class, we had the number 130 of Alcacer out there at a 233.270. And going through the rest of the names here, I see the enthusiast class. That was Steve Wen that we were riding on board with down there at a 244.350.
Another semi-close, very close session. William Stillwater really pulling away in this session. Brad Wells really leading the rest, but 229 to 335 from what, 2nd through 8th right there. Corey Kreider staying on that lead pack of numbers with his no aero mechanical grip car. It sounds like Mark Yeager does have a fan favorite car and a fan favorite person down there. We have Sean Bassett with Attacking the Clock. This is someone that Joey's going to want to hear from because they brought that K truck. It's the only thing he wishes he could sit inside here. But Mark, let us know what's going on with Sean Bassett. Does that 240 have more time in it? And do they have plans to actually get that K truck out there on track with a new power plant?
All right, we got Sean Bassett here. Obviously, he is driving a wicked car. Now, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's what's left of a 72 240Z. Not much Z left, but yeah, it's basically a tube chassis car, full carbon fiber, and when it's making boost, it makes anywhere from 800 to about 1,000 horsepower. And
so when you say when it's making boost, why are you saying when?
We're actually running an NA car, not by choice. We've got our wastegate is stuck open, which is super weird. So yeah, we just have free flowing exhaust through our wastegate, which it's kind of a bummer, but it's good. I've been working a lot on driving the horsepower masks a lot of that kind of stuff. So we're running like 7 seconds faster than last year when we had 800 wheel, and yeah, I think it's actually been really good.
So you're seeing improvements even though you're down on power. So obviously you've been working on that driver mod, which is awesome to hear. The car looks amazing. Like you said before, obviously we're trying new things. This is the beginning of the season. So what are some of the really new things you've been trying on the car?
Yeah, so a lot of new things is like maintenance stuff. Like we've had the same wiring harness in the car for about 5-6 years. So we literally just completely mil-spec'd out the whole car, and that's basically for longevity. We had some gremlins pop up last year and kind of cost us some events, but a lot of things is like we've got a whole new, Moton suspension package on the car, some new aero stuff. We're getting ready for Pikes Peak this year because we're running, this year. So we're kind of Superlap's great to, these really hardcore shakedowns so we can, not have a start or fail like we're having right now, on the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get everything shook down, get it ready for Pikes Peak. Obviously, this is an amazing car to have out of Pikes Peak. One of the trickiest things is when you go out there is you got to have everything working right because you only get one shot at that mountain. Kind of like a time attack lap. You get one shot at that epic lap. So give us a little rundown. Do you think you're going to get any more time out of this car? Are you going to be pushing?
Yeah, my personal goal this, week kind of changed when we decided that, figured out we're not, at full power. So I'd like to get the car in, like 25s would be great for me. I think, for essentially 500 horsepower, it's really aero heavy. So we have a lot of drag, and I'm used to that power pulling me out. So it's really kind of an interesting way to drive the car right now. But yeah, if I could get it out there one more time or 2 more times, that'd be, awesome. I'd love to be able to cap it off with, nice little cherry on top.
Sounds good. All right, man, make sure you keep that anti-gravity battery charger on that battery so you can make sure that thing's charged up, and we'll get back to the show.
That was a great little interview with our good friend Sean Bassett. A lot of people have seen this car. It's been at Pikes Peak. It's been at SEMA. It was a build that he did himself. That I believe that's really what jumped him into the attacking the clock. We have Group 3 out here on their warm-up laps. I'm going to be very honest. There's somebody that we've been wanting to keep an eye on. His name is Alex Roy, car number 26. Alex is from PE-tuned BMW F80 M3. He is in limited class. He's currently right behind Ravi Tomerlin. He's running a 222.971. I love anybody that's willing to give us all their info. He's such a character. He told us that all the fun noises are thanks to the custom exhaust by Inked Customs in Europe. The chassis platform is built around JRZ suspension RS Pros, and they were provided and valved by 057 Motorsports. The aerodynamics are a blend of parts from N15 Designs from Colorado and Flossmann Auto Design in Germany. The big brake kit is supplied by Brembo, and the pads are engineered by Magic Race Development. His biggest thing is he wanted to build a car that was comprehensively upgraded, touching on all areas of the car to put together a solid package. It sounds to me like he really had a thought process on how to build this car, and a lot of people, they make mistakes when they choose parts. They over choose one thing, they don't choose another. But it sounds like car 26 Alex Roy, when he gets out there, let's see if we can follow him around. What do you think about people who really put the car together like that?
Well, Cuban, I want to ask you something, because we're the same age over here. When you were in high school, right, were you making car build lists while you should have been taking notes in class? Because I know I was, and I think that just kind of shows exactly what this type of person is in Alex Roy, is that he loves the car build. He loves knowing what parts go into it, and he's really kind of executed his dream out there. And that's why I wanted to ask you, were you one of the guys that would write down the car builds of what you wanted to do if you had that car?
So to be fair, yes and no. I got into cars rather late in high school. Early in high school, I was riding dirt bikes a lot, and I was kind of being a degenerate. But then I realized that cars are absolutely the way. So yes, junior and senior year, I loved everything about cars, to the point where when I turned 18, I had a really good job. I bought an Evo 8 directly off the lot. The guy didn't want to sell it to me because he didn't think I had the money for it. It took me a while to convince him to actually talk to me about it. But yes, I will tell you, I am one of those that just really wanted a great car.
Well, I mean, those Evos were so awesome when they first came stateside, too. I can understand wanting one of those for sure. And yeah, I get it. You know, in the build list, it's all up to these individual owners, right? You have this dream and you have this concept of what you want your car to be, whether that's a front-wheel drive car, whether it's a rear-wheel drive car, whether it's a Porsche or an NSX or a BMW. And this one just happens to be a F80 BMW M3 that's heavily tuned, and I believe this is the car right now as it's starting to go through the S's here. So let's just watch the attitude of it and see all of these modifications that Alex has made to the car, see how well they're playing off, and already I can tell the driving line was pretty good. He was holding it tight, drifted out just a touch wide there into turn 6, and it's going to compromise you there a little bit into 7, but he's already back on the racing line there, so he's corrected his mistake. He already realized that he needs to be back on it. He's got a fast NSX coming up right behind him, so we're going to see if he notices that car, if he is on a hot lap himself here. Coming down into turn number 11. That's the 4-door F80 BMW M3, not the 2-door, and rocket down the back straightaway here. Looks like it's holding that NSX at bay, especially down the fast stuff here, and I think I read 600 plus horsepower inside of this BMW. So even though he says mildly tuned, anytime you're putting down 600 wheel horsepower, you're definitely dealing with a serious machine here. And he got on the brakes just fine there. Now through the technical bits, through the stadium section, a little wide off of apex there in turn 13. Could probably clean that up just a little bit next time by. See if he uses all of the track here. And actually, he's going to be held up by, surprise, surprise, Cuban, he's being held up by an Evo. Looks like he gets around it just fine there. He definitely compromised the exit coming out of, I believe that was turn 15 there. But he's back on track now. Well, he's got his 2 remaining turns, and he'll at least put down a lap time. I'm sure that Alex is going to go back out there and probably repeat the fast lap, considering he kind of got held up a little bit in one of those sectors and could probably tighten up a few more of those apexes. So here he comes around turn number 20. See what lap time Alex Roy puts down here. He starts it out with a 226.75.
Which is pretty well off of his fastest time. And what was missed a little bit at the very beginning is that pink NSX Ravi, he was in front of him, and Ravi blew his brake zone in turn 1. We caught it at just the very end of Ravi being on the outside, so I feel like this car's lap was compromised in 2 different places. It was compromised in turn 1 to make sure he didn't go wide and get in the way of that NSX who was already going off, and then obviously the Evo who was on his warm-up lap, someone's going to have a conversation with him about being at 70%. There's no reason why people in the front should catch the person in the back. This is over a 3-mile course. Everyone's doing the same pace on a warm-up lap. Having someone catch up is just really hurtful to the competition as a whole. So hopefully we have a little conversation with Bill Betts there. Maybe he was having some issues. You know, he's been here before. We've dealt with him. He's a good guy. But being in the way of someone on a flying lap, that hurts. Now, as a positive, this gentleman is a street car. They do tend to go faster on the second lap. It does look like he is sending it on this one. He was a lot cleaner going down the back straight there. His exit was cleaner. It looks like he got the power down faster. And from what you saw, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it did look like he was a little timid into some of these corners.
I think he could probably carry a little bit more apex speed, but it all starts with the turn-in, right? Because if you don't get the turn-in right and you carry that apex speed, it's just going to be blowing way out wide in the middle of the apex. So it's just kind of all reining it in. Same type of thing there in turn 13, just a little bit wide on apex. And I think if he's got a GoPro inside of the car, he'll be able to review all of this in-car video and say, oh yeah, look at this. I'm leaving 3.5 feet of room over here to drivers, right? And I'm leaving 3.5 room on drivers left here in turn 15. So I think as long as you're able to go back and review each session as a driver, you should be able to point these things out and consistently improve over every single session, which really is the ultimate goal.
Well, and every single lap he's out there, like we said, every driver's different. It takes a little bit to get out there and get hot. Now, talk to me about this final corner. Number 1, that was absolutely an improvement at a 221.508. But we see so many different attitudes going into turn 20. Some people really try to turn it into a circle and put power down the whole way through. Some people try to diamond the corner to just have that slingshot up the front. What do you think really is the best exit out of 20 to give you the fastest lap time?
I mean, if we look at just turn 20, it leads out onto an important straightaway, the front straightaway, the second longest straightaway on the track. So you need to square up turn 20. If you cheat the entry of turn 20, well, guess what? It's going to cost you time all the way down the front straightaway, all the way up before you hit the brakes into turn 1. So you need to be on far driver's right side of the track as we watch Sandgaard kind of go a little bit deep into turn 12 there. But going into 20, you need to be all the way driver's right and then really just hit the standard apex. It's a little bit of a later apex just because it's not a true 90-degree corner. It's a little bit more than a 90-degree corner, so it's kind of deceiving in that way. And the other tricky part about turn 20 is it is up over a crest. There's not much elevation change, but you're coming uphill into it at apex. It crests over the top and plateaus right there. So you not only have to deal with the late apex, but you also have to be prepared of the car kind of getting light as you're rolling on that throttle. But as long as you're aware and prepared for those things, you just need to hit that apex, a little bit of a later apex, and rock it down the front straightaway with as much top-end speed as you can carry.
Absolutely. And we do see Jason Merck leading this session at 221.167. That is going to put him in first. Not in first, but ahead of Ravi and ahead of Alex Roy. Alex Roy with a 221.508 and Ravi with a 222.062. Brad Wilson in his street class car, though, with a 223.239. And Samuel Nafziger with a 223.480. James Ho, 223.528. I don't know what he figured out between yesterday and today, but it's great to see him really putting those lap times down. Like we said, Mr. Sandgaard in that beautiful Marlboro liveried car, he did end up running a 224 on that lap, and we saw him blow that corner at the end of the back straight pretty significantly. You can't attest that into seconds, but that's a lot of tenths right there when you have to turn in a car length after the apex of the corner.
I mentioned pad knockback yesterday, and I haven't talked about it at all today. And at COTA, we deal with alligator curbs, those red and white painted curbs. Well, they're stepped curbs, so when you drive over them, it provides this huge vibration, right? Vibrations, they're not good for a race car. It knocks everything out. You want to stay off of them as much as possible, but in order to go fast, guess what? You got to use them. One of the things that is very apparent here at COTA is pad knockback in the brake system. When you have vibrations, what actually happens is the rotors, they vibrate too. They start to shake, and they push those brake pads back into the calipers. They push those pistons receded further. So when you actually go to that brake pedal at the end of the straightaway, if you run over these exit curves, you actually don't have a brake pedal. You're pressing against basically air, and you'll see some of these drivers tap the brake pedal before going into some of these brake zones, and that's just giving them confidence that the brake pedal is actually there and they're going to have pressure when they stand on the thing. It could also be one of the reasons why we see so many of these drivers overshooting turn 1, turn 11, and also turn 12. If you're unfamiliar with pad knockback, it can catch you out over and over and over.
True, and what a lot of people don't know is Subaru as a whole, and it's not as common on the STI chassis with the 5x114 hub, they are known to get pad knockback on bumpy surfaces. Though we're on a racetrack, watch this car going up this hill. See how much it undulates. These cars go through significant bumps going down the back straight. That could be enough to just give you the minimalist amount of knockback. And a few millimeters of the pad separating from the rotor doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're driving your car at home, when you touch the brake, it gives you an immediate reaction. Now imagine driving at high rates of speed and you go to touch the pedal and it moves a few inches before you feel anything. That's what we're talking about when it comes to pad knockback. That's when you have a driver saying that they have to pump the brake to bring it back. And it sounds severe, but it is. If you've ever dealt with pad knockback, I've been at a high rate of speed and I go to hit the brakes, and luckily I knew what it was. I pumped it and it came back immediately. But coming down the back street where we heard Jason Merck saying he's hitting upwards of 180 miles an hour, that's not the place where you want the pedal to be long.
And really, you can put whatever hubs you want on these cars, and just bottom line, if you deal with alligator curbs, you're going to deal with pad knockback. Just plain and simple. Race cars, you know, they put retainer springs inside those calipers to really push the pads back out, push the pistons into the pads, so that way there's no knockback whatsoever. But I'll tell you what, I haven't driven a car that doesn't have pad knockback. Some of it worse than others, but whenever you're doing, like, what did Jason Merck say, 170 plus down the back straightaway, you want to stand on that brake pedal pressure, and when you stand on it, you want the car to stop. If it doesn't stop, holy smokes, you are in for a ride, and you better react quickly and get back on that brake pedal after pumping it a couple times so you can actually slow the car down before you get to a tire wall. But yeah, it's just something that is one of the technical issues here at COTA that all of the drivers, no matter what car you're in, you're going to have to deal with.
Well, and the biggest thing of what you just brought up is it's all comes down to being prepared, but that's the best part of being somewhere like COTA. Those long straightaways, you have the most runoff space possible. So even if you don't catch it immediately, you have plenty of time to really get yourself oriented before something bad happens. We've seen it before in the past. Luckily, these drivers are skilled where the brakes are going out, and I've personally seen a driver yawed into a corner, and yeah, did he make the corner? No, but was he completely sideways, scrubbing enough speed to make it around and get back on track? That's a lot better than panicking and just not knowing what's going on. So for those of you at home watching, that really is the difference between someone in a competition and you in your early HPDE days. We all can be great drivers, but you have to be put in these high stress scenarios to know what to do when things like that happen.
Give everybody an update on what's going on. It's still Jason Merck on top of the board here in this run group in that limited class. 221.1 is the current time to chase. We were watching Alex Roy earlier in that BMW. He's currently sitting second at a 221.5. And this is Sandgaard in that Subaru that we were mentioning a little bit earlier. He looks to be on a flyer, especially the way the attitude is through turn number 19 there. Let's see him cross the start-finish line, and actually we just got the checkered flag, so he's going to sneak this one in, a 223.4. That was his fastest lap of the session.
And it looked really good. He was pushing the limits there towards the last 6 to 7 corners. It didn't look like he was going to get over in time to make 19. If you saw, he was all the way on the outside curbing, and he had to bring that car all the way back to make the left for 19. But he did a 2:23.445 on his 4th lap. It was a very impressive lap.
Just have to wait and see if any of these drivers that are currently on a fast lap will be able to improve as this checkered flag falls. And as long as you have started that lap before the checkered came out, you will be able to finish it as long as you're on a hot one, right? If you're on a cool lap and that checker comes out, there's no point to coming around and starting a brand new one. We watch Ravi come around here in this pink NSX, and look at that, to the top of the board at 220.9.
Huge for Ravi, by the way. He was at a 221, 222 lap pace, and it looks like he was just trying to find his groove. I'm sure, knowing Ravi, he does time trials a lot. He has won almost every local NASA event he's done in the last year in his class in this car. So he knows it very well. He understands how it feels. Now, this is a new turbo setup, a new tune. It's making more power now than it ever has, and I'm sure he was feeling the car out, trying to make sure that he was getting a good lap time down. And I saw him going fast and pulling back and going fast and pulling back. We saw him blow the corner in turn 1, and he didn't let that get to him. And on his final lap, when all the pressure was there, a 229.08, that is great by Ravi. Well deserved.
I think this is one of the
We're going to go ahead and send it to Mark down there with Jackie Ding. Before Jackie goes out, Jackie told us that session 2 is going to be the one where he goes fast. So, Mark, let us know what Jackie's saying. Is that still true? And let's hear what he has to say.
King and Gary Wong here. We're talking limited class. We're talking tight spread, 6 competitors. Jackie, Gary, what's going on? What are you guys feeling? What do you think of this limited class and how tight it is?
Depressed is how I'm feeling. You know when you wake up in the morning feeling like you're invincible and you do half a second quicker on your PB and you think I'm the best, and then everybody else in your class go a full second quicker, and you go from 3rd to 6th overall, which is just unbelievable. I mean, 6'10", 6 cars. It's outrageous.
Gary, what do you think? How much faster did you go? Did you get him by a second?
I think I got him by 0.2 or 0.3 now, so I'm still trying to go a little bit faster. I think I got a little bit more.
Jackie, do you have a little bit more in you?
We're going to need a miracle, and Jesus needs to really love us in the next couple of laps for us to try and find half a second to, somehow pull a P1 out of the back. But it's 6'10". Like, anything can happen. The order can be completely messed up in 3 laps. Who knows? Nobody knows.
So we got a limited class that's super tight. These guys are battling it out. So the big question is, do you guys believe that you can be on the podium this year?
You'll find out in a bit.
I think I could do it.
Gary's got the confidence. Jackie, not so much. But we do know this thing is super tight, and I think it's literally anybody's race to get up on that podium. All right, guys, we're going to get back to the action and see these guys later.
Jackie's not kidding. Joey, this is your first year with us, but the limited class is usually a smaller class. We see big street, big unlimited, etc., and a lot of these street class competitors have stepped up. We have new street, new enthusiasts, but not only do we have a large limited class, we have a podium or even a top 6 to top 8 that is incredibly close to each other.
I think that's the whole point, is to have a car class, groups of drivers that are all similar in talent level, similar in speed, and then it usually produces the best racing and the best product out there on the racetrack. And it certainly seems that you were mentioning that specific class. I think I could point to a few of them out here, Cuban, that they're all really close like that. It just happens to be that there's more numbers in that specific one.
Yes, and you know what? It's not just limited class that is tight. Everything is tight. And we're looking at everybody in classes top to bottom. I mean, look, unlimited class is usually led by 1, maybe 2 people. But even those people are usually far apart. You got Cole Powelson resetting the overall record, and you have Eric Fleming in an untested, unproven car, thousandths off of the unlimited rear-wheel drive record and potentially could be close to Cole. Now, Eric is going to be one of those guys that's going to tell you, I've already gone above and beyond. I'm ready to go. We're going to get that record. But in the back of Eric's head, he knows if he can put it together, he can give Cole a run for his money.
I think the potential in a lot of these cars is definitely always there, and it's just up to that driver, right? Each driver is a little bit different in how they prepare themselves, and each driver is a little bit different in how they attack each session, and we're just going to see at the end of the day who really is the fastest.
Speaking of who's going to be the fastest, we do have the leader of Street Class, Kyle McHugh, down there with our good friend Mark Yeager. Mark, what does Kyle have to say about this? Can he go faster, and how does he feel about everyone nipping at his heels?
All right, we got Kyle McHugh here. He's leading Street Class in his Supra, 217. But Turner Dobbin is trying to come for him in this current session. He's running a 219. He thinks he can get to a 217. Kyle, what do you think?
I don't really care what Turner does. He's much slower than me. So the only person I'm competing against right now is my car. I know my car is not a person, but it's all fucked. My AFRs are fucked. My tune is fucked. My transmission is fucked.
All right, let's go ahead and take that away. I believe we all know this is a family-friendly thing, and we're not going to be interviewing like that. So no matter what Kyle McHugh has to say, Mr. Dobbins is definitely pushing hard to go ahead and get ahead of him.
Watch these cars as they come out onto the racetrack now. There's one of these BMWs. And Cuban, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the BMW that had kind of the half-spin failure out of pit lane yesterday? I'm happy to see that one back on track, if that, in fact, was a mechanical broken part.
You know, it's weird because it was him, but remember, he came out afterwards, and he didn't really have any twitchiness. So I didn't have a chance to ask him, so odds are it was fresh tires, or it could have just been a combination of a lot of things. Now, the good thing is, whatever it was, he is still back out there. Now, we are going to take a look at this yellow and black S2000, but we're really just going to track him based off of lap times. He's telling us that he's going to send it. He thought he was going to have another mechanical because there was a puff of smoke, but realistically speaking, he was just a little concerned and he didn't want to hurt the car, and I don't blame him for that.
You never want to go home with parts, right? Especially leaky parts. You want to go home with the whole car on the trailer, and that's exactly what the drivers and the team are doing, right? They're out there with a fixed car, and they're going to go out there and give it their best and see what kind of lap time they can do. And yeah, yesterday might have had a few hiccups, but it's awesome to see the car on the track. They're getting everything warmed up out there, so we should see that S2000 flying around this place here in just a matter of a couple minutes. As watching these cars go around, it looks like the first couple cars entering that long parabolic right-hander still on their warm-up lap. So in a matter of just another couple turns, we will have some
if that first car
engines
out
down the front
front
straight.
Is Bjorn. Let's see if we can follow this beautiful GTR. Bjorn has been doing a great job of doing what the car does well. We were speaking about him earlier, Joey, but remember, a lot of people don't understand that cars don't do everything perfect, right? And Bjorn's been doing the things the car does well great, and he's been really wrangling it in on the low speed stuff. So here's Bjorn. Let's see what kind of lap time he lays down in his GTR.
And you know, you've been really having me dissect a lot of these laps, and you're right, this driver of this GTR and Bjorn has been doing, at least yesterday, a really good job of just keeping everything clean on the racetrack. Once again, just nicely hitting the apex into turn 2, not letting the track or the car track out all the way going into the S's. That's important because it sets you up very nicely for the entry section here. Just got to keep it nice and tidy. Don't let the car drift out too wide there. And once again, Bjorn just right on the racing line, or what seems to be the line for his GTR. He understands the front end grip that it's going to be giving him. Also kind of that apex rolling speed that he's got out of the GTR. And so now is a little downhill section. Focus on this brake marker for turn number 11. And then hit that power down coming out. Don't cheat inwards too much. Nice job there. See how much he goes out on track exit there. Just a really nice clean lap so far. And now is the kind of the breather point, right? You can take a couple breaths down the back straightaway and get ready point out that brake marker, stand on the pedal, and hopefully get the thing slowed all the way down to about 40 miles an hour or so, maybe 45 miles an hour minimum speed here in turn number 12. And just look at how clean Bjorn is really handling this thing. All the way on the driver's side of the racetrack there on entry to turn number 13. So using up all of the road on entry, only lets it drift out about halfway. Let's see if he keeps it tight here in 15 and 16. Yes, he does. So he's definitely understanding you don't have to let the car go out all the way there in that section. So Bjorn definitely repeating what I saw yesterday, and that's just a nice driver hitting all of the marks, really doing it by the textbook out here when we look at the racing line. And typically what that does is it provides consistency. Consistency is a great base to build off of. So here's the final turn, turn number 20. If he's clean through here, he'll set down the time to chase right now and crosses the start-finish line. Should be a 2 minute and 18.8.
That is so close to his fastest lap. His fastest lap is a 2:18.536. So that's an incredible first lap out of him. And you know, we see these GTRs a lot, and they've all been called easy button cars, and they have all the nannies, everything you need, but not everyone can drive one of those at that level. So for him to not just take these long swooping corners where the car loves it, for him not to just use the high horsepower, but I think the corner that really nailed it for him, in my opinion, to show you that he understands the car, is the brake zone at the end of the back straight into that apex. I thought he was cheating it too much, but he just nailed it perfectly, which means he knows his car better than me watching his car.
And as we watch the other ones go around, I believe this is Cal Fortner out here in the Mercedes. And he's currently second on the board. He slipped in front of Bjorn with a 2:18.79, but it's actually Wong in the 132 car. I believe that's the Ferrari laying down a 2:15, and I believe that's the fastest he's gone today.
It is, but look at Cal Fortner really getting it right now. You can see he's wrangling the car. There's obviously, we want to see people be smooth is fast, but sometimes someone just has to get in and drive it in anger, and some of the fastest laps we've ever seen have been in anger. So seeing Cal jumping that curb, though, going onto the back straight, that's really going to hurt his top-end speed.
And exactly what that does is you want all the tires on the ground driving forward, and when you jump the curb, guess what? You only got 2 tires on the ground, and you want the other 2 to hopefully provide some traction. In this Mercedes, you want the rear 2 on the ground in order to provide the forward traction. But hopefully it didn't affect him too much out there. Probably maybe 1 or 2 mile an hour on the top end, as long as he was able to apply that accelerator smoothly. And now comes this section where you just really have to tiptoe it around. It feels so tedious, and Cal really using a lot more of the outside of the track there than some of the other drivers. Maybe needs a little bit more turn in on the front end of this Mercedes, and I feel like this corner actually right here is probably where it shines. It's a very well balanced car, so through the medium to high speed stuff where you get to really use that balance and use that aero, I'm sure the car is very happy. And actually a little bit of slide there on the entry to turn 19. That tells me the car has a good front end on it. It's got a nice pointy bit on the front so you can turn the car. Now a little bit of a power slide again coming out of the final turn. Let's see what Cal throws down. 2:19.5, so not quite as fast as his first lap.
No, and his fastest is a 2:18.613, which was set before lunch, I believe. I mean, in the first session, I believe. So he was close to it on his first lap, and he was really wrangling it there. Zhenyang Wang with a 2:15.113. That is absolutely his fastest lap of this event so far. Here we have Jeremy Lauder in his Camaro, a 2:27.40. Let's see if he's going to set another flyer. If it looks like he's on a flyer, we'll follow him around. Last time we watched this car was from inside, and all of that Bald Eagle power was ringing in my ears. Now, this is somebody who's been coming to us for years now. He's been progressing as a driver. This build is incredible, and you know, from year one to now, you could tell that he's really gotten a handle on this car. I watched him blow these S's, I want to say, every other session. in year one. And from what it looks like, he's really starting to wrangle the car together. That final corner in the S going into this left-hander, it really gets people wadded up. You'll hear Joey talk about it a lot, but people will be so far behind the track there that they're compromising the following corner, which then compromises the next 3 sets of corners, and you can't even reset till right here when you're about to go down the back straight.
It's just such a technical track here, COTA. If you get behind in any section, it seems to really follow you all the way through the track. And you're right, this is the only time that you can kind of have a little bit of a reset down here. And I will say that this lap does look pretty clean here from Jeremy Lauder in the number 25 Camaro, and goes rumbling down the back straightaway. And I'm sure that car is putting out some noise, and the tunnel effect on the front straightaway with that V8, I'm sure, is plenty loud, vibrating some windows here. But I think that when you drive a big old heavy car like that, this right here is just the toughest section of the track. I mean, in a light car, you can throw it around, but in one of these big Camaros, you just have to wait on the front end for so long. Wait. And there you see him really struggling. Just a little bit too much speed in there, and just the front end never turned on him. Had a whole lot of understeer through the slow speed stuff. And now it'll pick up a little bit through the middle and high speed. Let's see if he actually completes this lap, because the first half looked great. There's only that one little bit of a mistake there. Now through turn number 19, a little bit wide through 19 as well. That's a common thing to do. It approaches so fast out of 18, and now through turn 20. Let's see Lauder put this lap time. His current session fastest is a 220.7. This lap is going to be a 221.7, so just a bit off.
It was a bit off, and you know what? He is out here trying to set them back to back, but more than anything, he kind of blew a few apexes towards the end, and the tires are probably getting a little bit greasy. You need to really put it together and get everything right if it's going to be your second or third lap, because if you start overdriving the car, if you start putting too much lateral G-load in tires, if you start spinning those rear tires, all you're doing is you're causing grease, and you're not going to really get anything out of that.
You're overheating them, right? And when you take something out of its optimal temperature range, it doesn't matter if it's a toasted sandwich or some tires. When it gets too hot, it's too hot, right? Looks like we've got...
it's just like us.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got our official results. I know the checkered flag is still out, so if anybody is on a hot lap, they can go ahead and finish this thing, but it's Zhenyang Wang in the 132 in that Ferrari in that limited class, currently on top of the board with a 215.1 this session. Then comes Cal Fortner in that Mercedes at a 218.79, also in the limited class. Bjorn in that GTR that we were talking so much about, really nice and clean driving, provides a 218.8 his fastest lap time this session. And then Jeremy Lauder in that Camaro that we were following along, the only car in the unlimited class here in this run group, finished out at a 220.7. And actually, you know what? Shout out to Anthony Pearson. He was also in this run group, the only street car class in this run group, 234.155.
Absolutely, and he's been doing very well. And if anyone is going to finish a lap, they will see him come down start finish now. But it does look like Group 1 is getting ready to go out. Let's take a look at who's out there. I know Cole Powelson showed up. I'm not sure if he has the car on track yet. If he does, we're obviously going to follow him. If not, I'm actually looking into following Cole Powelson. They're on fresh tires. They have everything sorted out. They've already reset the record, but they know that this is their chance to set the fastest lap of the event. They're chasing the GTX guys doing the 59s and 58s, but Cole wants to end this as the fastest production-based car in a time attack event to set a lap. Now, the last thing he would want to do is not go out and set it if he's there, and then Cole go out on the last session and scream. But if not, let's go ahead and have Eric Fleming followed.
Should be pretty exciting. See which cars really go out there and start to lay down some laps. Earlier in the day, we were just kind of talking about which sessions are going to be kind of the golden sessions, the money sessions. And actually, let me refresh this weather over here. Wow, already up almost 15 degrees ambient temperature from when we started the day. So early in the morning, nice and cool. This second session, it's already up mid-50s, almost 60 degrees ambient temperature on the day out there in Austin, Texas. So I have a feeling if you want the maximum performance, yeah, it's going to be right now. That's not to say that we're not going to see faster lap times in the next couple sessions, but I think if you're looking for something optimum, this is your window.
You know what I did notice, though? Though it's getting warmer, these lap times are still dropping. Like you said, 15 degrees ambient. The sun is out, so it is starting to get the warmth out, but everyone's lap times in this second group have been faster at the top end of the stick, or at the pointy end of the stick. It does look like Cole is getting ready to start his flyer. He's going to go out there to the very front. Like most teams, notice those sticker tires, by the way. Like most teams in the Unlimited class, he's going to want to have those tire warmers on, ready to go, and he is being sent out. So Cole is going to be the person we follow on this lap. After Cole's lap, we'll go ahead and get this camera on Eric Fleming because he's going to do 2 or 3. It's what he always does. Cole makes it a point to put on a show. You guys saw his interview yesterday. You saw his pre-roll interview. There is nobody out there that is more excited about the sport of time attack as a driver than Cole Powelson. So he's not even trying to set this lap time for himself. He's trying to do it for the sport.
As the cars feed their way out onto the racetrack from pit lane, everybody just getting their nice even spacing, and like you said, we'll wait for that GTR to come flying by. And Cuban, maybe you can remind everybody, what was that lap time? It was a
2:02.538.
So that is the benchmark, right? That's the benchmark we're going to be looking for out of that GTR, a 2:02.538. So everybody that's out there watching, keep that in your mind. And when we watch this first lap, if he goes faster than that, well, we got something to celebrate about over here.
And if we see Eric Fleming go 3 thousandths faster, he's going to match Ferris's rear-wheel drive record. If he goes 4 thousandths faster, he's the new unlimited rear-wheel drive record holder.
So that's all right there in that 202 range. I can't wait to see it. I really feel like this is the window. If we're going to have that boost cranked up to 12, that's going to be the time to do it. And I'm a little bit more familiar with stereo settings. Only certain stereos go up to 11. But from what I've been hearing, some of these boost knobs go way further than 11.
I believe his goes to 13.
Which is one higher than 12.
Remember, numbers are just a social construct, my friend.
You see him in his car right here, going down the back straightaway, making sure everything is cleaned up. And I noticed some of you guys noticed he was on some sticker tires. Cuban pointed it out as well when he was rolling down pit lane here. So one of the most important things to do on that outlap is you got to scrub off kind of that, I don't know, shipping adhesive, you want to call it, kind of that shiny layer on the tire, and make sure the sticker is gone, make sure that initial layer is all gone, and you are ready to set down a flyer.
Absolutely, and you also want to keep them at a temperature. Cole and Eric both run tire warmers. You'll notice that Cole came down in the last 10 seconds of the grid. That way, tire warmers off, car down. So Cole's car is as prepared as possible to set down this flyer. Obviously, anytime you're not spent on the beans, you're losing that pressure and that temperature, but you want to be as close as possible. He's about to go down the front straight. Joey has called some of the funnest laps out here. I think this is going to be one of the best ones we've seen.
Let's just kind of watch the car as it goes up through turn 1. Let's watch the attitude here. Splitter on the ground on braking, so he's got the thing slammed down. Looks like he hit the apex nicely. Really good on the exit, all the way over the apex curb in turn 2. Look at that splitter sparking off of the loaded side there on every single turn. As long as he's got part of it in the air and make sure the air goes underneath that thing, it's doing its job. And out a little bit wide there in turn number 6, so it's going to compromise him a little bit in 7, but as long as he's able to get back on the line here, which he has done, up over the top of the hill of 8, now it's the sprint down to the next braking zone. Again, that splitter just millimeters above the track. That's exactly what you want. You want it as low as possible without actually physically touching the ground. And certainly looks like that GTR is dialed in, rocketing down the back straightaway here. All he's got to do is get the thing stopped for turn 12. Little slow going in. Yeah, he's off the pace. I was going to say it looked a little slow down the back half of the back straightaway there. I wonder if he realized that he was out a little bit wide in 7 and just kind of abandoned it. So I wonder, now Cuban, you can tell me, some of these time attack cars, they only have enough fuel for a lap or so. Now, does this GTR have enough fuel to go for a second lap if he can?
He needs to be refueled. What happened to them the last session is they blew a charge pipe. Now, you and I both know that blowing a charge pipe is usually indicative to an issue. It's not just going to happen. These cars get nut and bolted, so it may be the pipe itself is just not holding up structurally anymore. We were hoping he'd get a full lap in, but let's see what Eric Fleming lays down.
A 2:03.901, so he still needs to shave off just a little bit of lap time to get down to that 2:02 mark that he was nailing earlier in the day. So we know
his
the Corvette
fastest
has
time
it in it.
is a 2:03.853. So he needs to pick up a 10th, and he would be the unlimited rear-wheel drive record holder.
And this is that GTR coming into pit lane, it looks like. So he is coming in. He's got to get some more fuel in that thing before he can go back out there on the racetrack. And I believe this is Jackie Ding, as well as I believe he's chasing one of these black Supras. Remember, we were talking to Jackie Ding about how close this entire class was, and now is his time to go out there and perform.
He just picked up 2/10 on his fastest lap. He had a 2:16.326, and he just did a 2:16.169.
And in terms of the limited class, remember we were also talking to Gary Wong down there in pit lane. So Gary Wong at a 2:16.2, Jackie Ding at a 2:16.1. You can't really get much closer than that. I also see two more 2:16s from both Gabe Zamora and Brad Perkins as well. So exactly what those two drivers were talking about in that interview, we're seeing it come to life here in this session.
It doesn't really get closer, guys. Let's not lie to each other here. This is one of the closest limited fields we have ever seen. We're at 2:16.1, a 2:16.2, a 2:16.6, a 2:16.6. All of these guys are vying for the podium right now. And you heard Jackie Ding, he was really unsure if he was going to make it on the podium. You heard Gary Wong with all the confidence in the world. And Gary's lap time would have put him ahead of Jackie Ding's previous lap time, but Jackie laying down a 2:16.169 in that brand new chassis for him. Still testing, it's unproven, so not to give him a little something to make an excuse out of, but truth be told, he's out here really pushing the limits on something that no one knows anything about.
This is that red Audi R8 going down the back straightaway here. Try to grab a number for you on this one. Look at how fast some of these cars really rocket down the back
This is car number
straightaway.
58,
Yeah, go ahead.
belongs to George Zhao.
Awesome, yeah, and he's got some aero. I see that he's got some two-way shocks on this thing, as well as maybe some new brakes on it and a little bit of slide there, so really kind of wheeling this thing. Remember, we saw a little bit of tire smoke out of this car yesterday, and I actually still see a faint bit of smoke out of the loaded rear tires, but a lot less than what we saw yesterday.
Well, and this is the car that lost a wheel last year we were talking about. And this is one of our favorite competitors. We were talking about how he just got the wheel fixed, no problem, sent it. He is running into this tire rub issue, though. Though it looks like he has a little something going on underneath from the back. It's hard to tell. But every time he gets under load, the loaded side has a little bit of smoke. So it could be oversized. Ooh, that's not tire, though.
No, that's not. I mean, it's coming out of the right rear. And if it's fluid, it's a right
It's
rear
fluid,
radiator.
and you can tell right there.
Yep. So there's fluid all the way from the front straightaway up into turn 1 on the racing line right here, and the Audi continues on the racetrack. He's on the racing line in turn number 2, dumping a ton of fluid for anybody that's out there.
We saw that. I don't know if you saw it, but going into 20, I saw the smallest puff, and he was in a straight line, and I almost thought I saw a flame. So sadly, these are rear-engine cars. It could be a radiator. It could be oil, but this is going to end this session. He's going to get out. It's going to be fire. You can see it. That was oil. He needs to stop this car and let track safety get to him ASAP, because that whole engine compartment is starting to fill with smoke.
I think the most important thing for him to do right here is to pull it off at a safety stand where they have fire bottles ready to go. Now, he'll be able to tell if it's fire or if it's water. And if it's water, he should just be able to read the temperature of the gauge. However, the further you drive it and the hotter it gets, the more damage you do. And I think it's going to be a radiator on the right side. Now, these Audis have kind of the side radiators on the rear. That's why they have those big old kind of scoops on them. So depending on how modified this car is and where those radiators are, I don't see any more fluid coming out of the car, which is usually a very bad sign that there's none left.
They are going to throw the checker because obviously the racing line into turn 1 has fluid coming out. I really hope that he just pulls off the track. You shouldn't be driving the entire track duration, George. This is going to be lunch, though, so make sure to stay tuned. We do have our pit walk and track walk. If you're here locally at Circuit of the Americas, make sure you come check it out. The entire pit will be open to you fans, to competitors, to be able to talk to these guys and see their cars up close. If you have any questions, this is the time to ask. So it does look like he got the memo, probably because one of the safety workers told him, let's go ahead and turn off here. They're going to have to go ahead and clean the track up, but luckily this is going to be lunchtime, so this is the perfect time for it to happen. This is the end of Session 6, Group 1. Eric Fleming, 203.901. He was so close to that record, but he's going to have another chance coming up. Eric Sutton, second in this session with a 214.545. We have George Zhao in this Audi R8 with a 215.756. Jackie Ding with a 216.169, and Gary Wong with a 216.274. Do not sign off, guys. This is going to be the end of the session, but it is not the end of our stream. Mark is going to have interviews coming up for you. We'll be talking to drivers. We'll be talking to fans. We'll see how everyone feels about the event so far and who thinks they're going to have more leftovers. So stick with us here at Super Lap Battle USA.
she hasn't come by yet, so we're good. Nothing new.
Lap battle presented to you by Rafa Racing. This is the Pitwalk. We're going to go check out some sweet cars and drivers. Come with me. All right, guys, we got here. We haven't seen him on track yet, sadly, but this is Ferris Khartoumi's epic Corvette. This is a fresh build, never seen the track yet. We're really hoping that he can get the car on track. If I see Ferris around, we can ask him a few questions, but unknown at this time. He was on the dyno late. There he is. Come here, sir. So how's the car? Are we going to be able to get this thing in the track?
I haven't slept in over 30 hours, so like the car is potentially ready to get on track, but the driver is not. So.
Completely understandable. We don't want to see anything happen to you or the car, so it's a smart move there. I'm really glad to see you bring it out and absolutely be able to see it. All right, thank you for having that out. All right, guys, this is the new overall record set by Cole Pallison himself. Cole, how's the laps going? How things checking out?
It was so good yesterday when we set the record, and today we've been fighting the car a little bit. So went out ambitiously, turned up the boost for the morning session, and didn't drive quite right. So that was a little bit of it, but I was on pace to at least match previous lap. And then we lost the intercooler coupler because, you know, you get a little greedy with the boost, and that seems to happen. So we dialed the boost back and said, Cole, drive better. And so went out on this last session, and I was driving better. So I was over half a second up on the record, and the transmission let go.
Oh.
Something inside, maybe a pressure sensor, but it's never just a sensor, right? So it seems very similar to the failure we had at World Time Attack a few months ago.
Well, we're sorry to hear that, but we got to get going, and we're going to check out some other stuff. Thanks, Cole. All right, well, now we got the S2000 here by Project Import. This car's been doing really well this weekend. Absolutely has been able to set some really solid laps. This car here, we got Eric Fleming. This car has been amazing all weekend, setting laps well beyond expectations. He's down to a 203. He's actually knocking on the door of Ferris Khartoumi's over rear-wheel drive record. Epic car, NA car, absolutely good looking. Then we have our more enthusiast class cars. So these cars are very basic in their builds. We have what you see here, splitters, wings, very basic in that sense. But guys coming out, having fun, doing the time attack gig. Now we got a car that has a for sale sign on the front of it. A sweet little EK hatch, Japanese style, B-Series engine in it. Now we have an awesome car here with Brett Wilson. His car is a Supra. Brad Wilson, excuse me there. Now we got our fan favorite here. Timmy, how's it going out there?
Good. It's been good. New set of tires today. Shaving off some seconds still, so got it down to the 34, which is a pretty big improvement from in the 40s where we started yesterday. So
Sweet, bringing down that lap time. Car's looking good. Can't wait to see what you do with the helmet, sir. It's a nice new Stilo helmet on that guy. It's going to look epic. We got our only Evo of the entire day. This is Bill Betts. Now, he hasn't exactly had an easy go of it. Tony's had to help him out and get things going, but he's out there turning some laps today. So, how you guys able to get some laps done? You guys able to get some laps done today? You going to be able to do any more?
No, I think the car's about done for today, unfortunately.
Done for the day, done for the event, but how'd the lap turn out?
Not quite what we were hoping for. We turned it up to full boost, but that exhaust leak got a bit worse, and we were hoping to see 25 psi of boost, and we ended up only seeing about 18. It only equated to about 3 or 4 mile an hour on the back straight. So
sad to see, but we got to work through the cars, and at the end of the day, we'll see you another day. Yeah, all right, now we're on to Ravi's sweet NSX. Only NSX here today. He's got the pink livery. Ravi, love what you got going on here. How's the lap time turning for you?
Well, we finally hit our goal, so that was the initial. So everything after this is going to be bonus time for us. So we hit our 220 goal. We fixed the boost issue, so the car is back to where it was as when we started with the straightaway speed. So now it's just up to me to get under that 220 mark.
Sounds good, sir. You show these kids a good time. Let them get in that car and check it out. Now we got an award-winning car here with the EG Honda Civic. Excuse me, little buddy. K-Series swapped. Epic car. Phil. How's the car doing today?
It is doing much better today because last night I don't know what happened, but we kind of killed 2 axles on it.
Killing car parts is what we do here at Time Attack.
When you got a lot of horsepower, you're going to kill parts. And if you're not killing parts, then you're not going fast enough.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. John Wheeler just reset the enthusiast class record with his absolutely amazing 370Z. He's absolutely doing a great job. Jonathan Wheeler, thanks for the lap. What's your current lap time and new record?
Current lap time 26.2, a 2-minute 26.2. On the dash on that last session, it was 25.1, and I didn't get through 19 the best. Cost myself a second, so we're going to be back at it here in about an hour.
All right, we're going to see you again. Hopefully you can get this record improved. Let's see it happen. We got Jonathan. Now we got James Ho over here. XCOM Tires car. How's it looking?
Actually, it was looking beautiful out there today. Improved by a lot. The car is performing beautifully, and I'm loving it.
So, a lot of time lost. How much time did you drop today?
About 7 seconds from yesterday.
Woo! 7 seconds is nothing to scoff about. Car's looking good. Getting that time in. All right, sir. How's it looking? What's your time today?
So far, I've done a 2:25.1. So I've picked up over 2 seconds from yesterday. So continuing to find time out there. Weather's been great. Tires are holding on. Time to turn up the power.
And you got a good name. So Mark Kilgore here is going to go get it and get it good. Oh, man, this is a beautiful car here. This sweet Camaro, how's the build, sir?
It's doing good. Learned a lot this weekend and just trying to figure out how to get all the grip to the ground.
Well, it's hard to do that on 1,300 horsepower, so definitely something that you're going to have to really try hard to get it done.
We'll get it.
All righty. Now, again, we're looking at street class cars, big builds. This is big aero over here, no aero over here. Corey, why no aero?
Because I like to drive it like a Subaru and drift it around.
All right, he likes drifting. He likes no aero. He gets his choice. He gets to build it. Build the power, baby. He's full of it. Again, you can't beat a sweet SPL suspension setup with a Porsche, with a bunch of different cars. These cars are awesome. He's tracking. He's doing it. He's getting all the lap time they possibly can. Brad Perkins here. He's throwing down this epic BMW. What are you doing so far? What are you fighting for?
So right now I think we're in fifth, but from fifth to first is 7/10, I think. So I think we're 2/10 off the podium.
It's absolutely epically close in limited class. All it's going to take is for someone to correct a few mistakes, get it right, turn up the wick, do whatever it takes. You can be able to do it?
Yeah, last session made a ton of mistakes. Just tried to do too much, way too much, too many things in one session. So it's there, like you said. We just got to pull it together.
All right, we'll be back talking to you later. Hopefully you get some lap time down. All right, this car here sadly lost a splitter very early on in the sessions and was unable to really put down a time in the competition. Still an epic car to see. You see the amazing aero on the back, just an epic car. This is actually going to compete in our GTX class as a factory race car. Was definitely something we were looking forward to. Shame they were not able to do it with the splitter not able to hold on. And here he is here, and he says,
"We'll be back." For sure.
There we go. All right, we got Matt Davis's BMW here. This car is awesome. He's got CSF intercoolers here. Absolutely great. Car's looking good. Aero's on point. So you get this. You get this in this class. An amazing aero setup, perfectly done. This car is absolutely amazing how it can be set up and going at its best. Now you got Turner Dobbins here. He's doing science experiments, still working on the car during the pit walk. Everything's perfect, he says. Got Mike Soto here, bringing the Cadillac ATS-V. Again, we have massive amounts of diversity here within the cars. You have Supras, you have Cadillacs, you have BMWs, more BMWs, Porsches. Awesome. Again, you can see a kind of a fan favorite. You do this guy here, Jason Merck. He's throwing down flat black, murdered out, loves the look. Both his cars, he's running two cars, two different classes. We got the Viking Sandguard. You can tell he's gone to battle here, guys. Look in his engine bay. This thing looks like it's coated with oil. What do you got, sir? Is it coated in oil? Give me a word.
Yeah, we've been shooting all out of oil, but we did manage to set a good lap, and that's all that matters.
What kind of lap time?
We ended up with 2:23, which is less than we'd hoped for, but certainly in the realm of something good when it's your first time here, and first year doing time attack. So.
All right, man. Well, let's see, get some better lap times. Let's push it. Let's get it. Mr. Rushton, you're not on fire at the moment, but the car's still looking great. You got an amazing splitter setup. You kept the flame damage. We all love it. We're still pushing for you. Any more lap time out there?
No, I had got a good lap in today. One session got black flagged. The second session rolled the front right tire off the car. So we're hoping for some better luck this afternoon. Definitely got a high 220 left in the car, so just need to get it out on track and get a lap done to make that happen. But, yeah, hopefully no fires, but we'll be on fire. Figuratively, not literally.
Sounds like a plan. You're the second person to actually do that in an FK where they actually pull the tire off the bead, not allowing the car to actually finish the lap. Again, enthusiast class cars. These cars, very simple in construction, lets the drivers get out, get a lot of lap time, and when you're like this guy here, you also show up with an amazing race suit looking fly. Oh, excuse me, sorry. We got We got Eric Sutton's Porsche here. He's throwing down some really good lap times. He's in a limited class. Again, we start looking at the aero of these cars in these classes. You have big heat extraction vents. They're allowing air to come through here. This is allowing low pressure air to exit out of the fenders. Absolutely amazing. You also have huge wings in unlimited class, allowing for a lot of downforce on these cars. Absolutely epic. Car's amazing. Driver's doing really well today. He's really pushing those limits and trying to get it done. So we just saw George Zhao. He had some issues. George, what's the issue that you're facing, sir?
I leaked all the coolant. I think might be some coolant hose leaking. I'm not so sure. It wasn't oil. It was all coolant.
All right, man. Well, it sounds like we can get that fixed. Let's get that coolant hose set up. The Audi is weight savings. Again, the man's dropped some aero on the car, APR aero. It's looking good. It's a beautiful car. Again, they have a little bit of an issue. Let's see if they can get this thing resolved and back on track for the next session. Sean Bassett here brings his absolutely gorgeous 240 to the track. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's been in SEMA. It's been all over. If you haven't seen this car, you're living under a rock. He's going to be going to Pikes Peak Hill Climb this year. And with Pikes Peak, you have a lot of thin air, so you're going to see even bigger aero for the Pikes Peak cars to really be able to ramp up that really thin air. You have a huge, epically great diffuser on this car, really showing what time attack and hill climb is all about. Getting in there, you have all that air that flows under the car, leading into it from a flat bottom, really helps get the car stuck to the ground. He also has this incredible K-Truck situation going on here. Such an epically little cool build that he has. A lot of Supras here at the event today, so I absolutely will say Supras are a car that everybody can show up in. Really big fan favorite in street class, competitor favorite, I should say. Something that is absolutely in every class, but in street class more than anything else. You got Jackie Ding's BMW here. He did a great job getting this livery set up. He's making around 670 horsepower. He's got a small amount of aero, kind of what we generally think of as street class aero, but he's still pushing limits. He's in that top 6 in limited class. He's got a little short time, but he can still get to that podium if he pushes the car to its limit. Again, another Supra. You got Gary Wong in the hunt for that limited class podium. He thinks he can get there. He thinks he can get to the top 3. He's hunting for that top 3 spot. Another car that just went really quick out there in limited class is this Ferrari. Again, throwing out limited class cars. Got a limited class BMW here. The aero's less aggressive than I would expect. I would have expected to see a little bit more on the front splitter, but he's keeping the balance of the car correct, making sure that he can go around. He's still building the car up. A lot to go on the car, a lot to build. A classic in terms of time attack, you have an S2000. These cars have been around, been in the game for a long time, tons of development with them. So it's an awesome car to drive. They can be a little twitchy a little here and there, but you can put some good aero on it, and a good driver in the seat, car is awesome. These cars here, these cars are factory, they're race cars. They're absolute race cars, something that you don't just have in a tuner culture. From a time attack standpoint, they're not what we classically think of as time attack, but it's awesome to see them out here, seeing what lap times they can do. Some of these guys in these race cars that are factory built type style or monocoques in that realm, now we're talking about cars that are doing sub 2-minute laps. One of the Soul Camaros, an American race car here. Awesome livery down the side, American flag. Louder is one of the guys that's coming out here and just laying the power down, running it deep, having a good time. All right, guys, we're going to be back at 1 o'clock. Come check us out. Get back in the racing action.
Link is the engine management solution for champions the world over. We know what it takes to win, pushing boundaries, performing under pressure, and having the best people on your team. Our tech support are performance specialists, available 24 hours and ready to talk one-on-one about your winning formula. Link ECU. The performance, reliability, and power to get to the podium.